My name's Tom Jennings, and this is the 24 Frames cast. So firstly, I want to wish you all a happy new year. I was planning on releasing something today, but just my girlfriend came over for a lot longer than I was expecting, and I just didn't have the time, really. And also, it was quite nice to have a little bit of a break from doing stuff, so I've just been watching the darts and the football and whatnot, and going to watch a couple of football matches. So I decided that I did want to release something, so I had a look through the archive, and I came across a really good conversation I had with Hunter Duesing from the Midnight Movie Cowboys podcast, where we did a deep dive into The Last Temptation of Christ. I've had a re-listen to this, actually, and it is a really good, fun conversation. Certainly, I really enjoyed doing it, and I will hopefully get Hunter back on the podcast soon, because he is a great guest to have and really knowledgeable when it comes to film. So without any further ado, here is one from the archive, and it's The Last Temptation of Christ. My name's Tom Jennings, and this is the 24 Frames cast, and this is a very special episode of the 24 Frames cast today, because the genesis of this episode goes back about 3 years, when I was watching Martin Scorsese's The Last Temptation of Christ, and I happened to tweet out whilst I was watching it that I thought it was the worst film I had ever seen, and very, very swiftly a reply came back from a representative of the Westboro Baptist Church called Hunter Duesing, who objected to my calling it the worst film ever made, and we kept threatening to sit down and do an episode to discuss it, and it's taken 3 years of intense legal wrangling to get round to this. So it's with great pleasure today that Hunter is going to be joining me. Hunter, thank you so much for coming on board today to talk about this film.
Always a pleasure, Tom. Have I been on 24 Frames cast, or have I just been on...
No, you haven't. No. I'm very selective with my guests, actually, on this. It's because I love the sound of my voice so much that I don't really like to spoil it by hearing other people's opinions. And, Joachim's the only person who I've allowed to actually come on. I keep thinking about having more guests on, actually, but I don't know. I don't know. I kind of quite like the idea of being a lone wolf out there in the world of podcasting. So,
well, and you are one of the few people who's actually able to talk by yourself.
Yeah.
I can't do that. If I could, I would do a podcast by myself as well.
I think I have a lot of training being alone at the moment. I do a lot of things by myself, unfortunately, and podcasting's just an extension of that.
It's weird. Like, I have a train of thought, but even in conversation, I sometimes feel like I come off like a jabbering idiot in podcasts. So.
Do you know what, actually? I was having this thing the other day, because I do actually script my episodes.
Oh, I see.
And I sometimes think I should sort of move away from doing that, because I'm consciously aware sometimes when I'm doing the editing that I do sound a bit robotic sometimes. But I think it's because you get so used to hearing yourself speak and sort of doing it in that way. And I've tried to kind of mix it up before, where I don't kind of script as much. And to be honest with you, the results will never be heard, because they're absolutely awful. Because it's just full of like
yeah, you have to edit out a lot of the there's a lot of that.
Yeah, so, I kind of go down that route, and I guess, there aren't many podcasts where it's just someone on their own, actually. I think my inspiration was Cinema Slave Joe, actually.
Yeah, I was about to say, Cinema Slave Joe is one of the few who was able to talk by himself without anybody to bounce off of. I feel like people who are really good at that are in radio or something.
Yeah. Well, I've had a few people, I've had a few emails from people, actually, and someone... It's always nice when you get nice ones, and it's also quite jarring when you get kind of the not so nice ones. And
I found blog posts trashing my podcast, The Midnight Movie Cowboys plug. I found blog posts talking about how terrible and racist we are.
Yeah, well, no, I had one once which was, I like your podcast, but you sound gay.
Really?
That was the thing, and I was like thinking...
That was Stuart, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't. It was someone I couldn't quite wait, but he said to me, I can't listen to you anymore because you sound so gay. And I was just like, oh, okay. You know what I mean? But he liked what I was saying, apparently, and encouraged me to carry on and keep up with the good work. But yeah. So yeah, I do apologise if I sound, not quite heterosexual enough. It's just, I'll have to work on that thing. But so let's just kind of back up a second. What are we doing here? Because...
Well, I had actually forgotten about the genesis of this because it's been so long. But yeah, now that you've jogged my memory, I remember you saying it was the worst movie ever made, and I was like, "What are you talking about?" So
yeah,
we've been threatening to do this.
Yeah, I mean, I can say now, I'm not going to retract the fact. I will retract. Sorry, the fact that The Last Temptation of Christ is not the worst film ever made. I have seen The Passion of the Christ, which is way worse, and is truly the sort of the benchmark of abomination as far as I'm concerned. But
wow,
no, I was. It was one of the few Scorsese films that I had never seen, and
me too. I actually didn't see it for the first time until it came out on Blu-ray from Criterion. That was when I first saw it.
That was when, and the worst thing is, I owned this film. I bought it on DVD many years. I think it was one of the first films. It was one of the first cycle of films that came out on DVD. I bought it, never watched it. Came out on Criterion, bought it, never watched it. Then the Blu-ray came out, bought that, and then I thought, right, fuck it, I've spent enough money on this film now to own three.
Much into Jesus Defoe,
and I've never watched it. And then I sat down and I watched it, and I was like, if I had known that, I wouldn't have ever bought this film. Because I was.
Yes, you would have. You completest Criterion.
Yeah, I would have. Yeah, if you stick a spine number, I will collect. But
you have fucking tiny furniture.
Yeah. Oh, don't. There are a few. Yeah, that is the one thing I'd say about owning all the Criterion films. It is fucking jarring having to buy some of them.
What are some other Criterion films you hate? Just out of curiosity.
Oh God. That is an absolute tough. Oh God, what was that?
I've seen some Godard films that I can't.
Yeah, anything Godard apart from Breathless. I can't stand Godard.
Breathless is great. I like a band of outsiders, but I was entertained by just the madness of Weekend, but. Oh man, that movie's pretentious.
No, I hate that. Ministry of Fear, Fritz Lang film, is absolutely atrocious.
Really,
it is. And I thought this year was going to appeal to me in so many ways. I thought, we've got Fritz Lang, kind of the war propaganda films, and I'm a sucker for those types.
Yeah,
it was awful. Do you know what? I hate Fantastic Mr. Fox as well.
I don't like that. In fact, any Wes Anderson after Royal Tenenbaums is excessive to me.
I detest Charlie Chaplin films.
I like Chaplin, but I can totally understand why you would hate them. I think he's the least of the silent clowns. I like Harold Lloyd better. I like Buster Keaton a lot more because Chaplin and Lloyd kind of pandered to the poor. I feel.
I just find them really unfunny. I just don't see why these films. Anything Mike Leigh as well. I don't like Mike Leigh films much.
I've only seen a few of his. I liked Naked quite a bit.
That's one of my top 10 most hated films ever. And there's a few that I've not, where I've sort of like, when they get announced, and I'm such an idiot. I do buy them all, and sometimes they come through, and I'm just like, oh man, like I'm literally kind of like.
You're just filling a hole in my shelf.
Yeah, and it's it's tough sometimes, especially kind of lots of these kind of double dip Blu-rays. But to be fair, there's a few of the Blu-rays that I haven't kind of double dipped on the basis that I sort of hate the original. So
right, like I have Breathless on Blu-ray. I don't need the Criterion dual format version.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's a few in there which I've not enjoyed, but the good ones way outstrip the bad ones.
Oh yeah, there's so many great movies in there, and usually like if it's something I haven't heard of, I'll take a chance on it. I'll roll the dice.
Yeah, and I mean, you sort of know what you're getting with Criterion. I mean, I would say sometimes with Criterion films though, I wish there'd be a bit more kind of. There's lots of films which are about kids, sort of coming of age films. There does seem to be quite a lot of them, and a lot of kind of samurai films as well. And I sort of think sometimes, we've got enough of them. Let's try and kind of go in a slightly different direction. Let's have some more animation in there. Because I don't think there is much. I don't think there's any animation.
No, I don't think there's. I think Fantastic Mr. Fox, and that's it.
Yeah, and I sort of think
there's some Stan Brakhage, but that's not really animation. That's guys painting on film strips.
Yeah, Stan Brakhage, actually, that was another one where I was sort of like, I'm going to sit down and and I was like, about 20 minutes, I was like, I'm not getting this.
Mm-hmm. My favorite Stan Brakhage appearance is in Cannibal the Musical.
I've not seen.
With Trey Parker and Matt Stone.
Oh, no.
But what was I going to say? Oh, yeah, but my beef with Criterion lately is it feels like they're just grabbing licenses they can get. Like, a lot of their movies they put out lately are basically souped up versions of the MGM DVD library. Like they seem to have access to those licenses and they're using it. Like, they've got Scanners coming out.
Yeah.
But I'm like, Scanners is probably Cronenberg's one of his most overrated movies.
Yeah.
People love it because at the time they had never seen anything like that man's head exploding. But it's kind of a boring movie besides that. But where like, is Shivers available? Last time I checked, it wasn't. And that's like one of Cronenberg's seminal movies. Why can't we have these things that aren't available and out there out? Sometimes I just we don't need another Blu-ray of Fantastic Mr. Fucking Fox.
Yeah, I mean, there's one that came through the other day which I was a bit unsure. But it's a mad world, and I was watching it thinking, oh god, this was kind of go on the I don't like shelf. And Tess as well, the Polanski film.
I haven't picked that up.
It's a stunning film. It is beautiful. It is one of the most beautiful films I've ever watched. But yeah, I was sort of thinking this is... I wasn't quite so into it. But I mean...
Well, the reason I haven't seen Tess is I'm kind of creeped out by it because I know Polanski was screwing Natasha Kinski at the time.
Yeah,
and that kind of skeeves me out a bit. Like, I know there's a lot of things skeevy about Polanski, but just knowing that, watching the movie would probably creep me out.
I know that, and I was saying this, I think, on the last episode of the Master Cinema Cast with Joachim, and I was talking about how I try and see through the scumbag sometimes. Well, all the time, in fact. I have no problem with liking Chinatown.
Oh, I don't either.
I don't personally think Woody Allen's a paedophile, and I don't have an issue watching his films.
Same here. I think he wasn't. Well, we don't need to get into that.
Yeah, let's just kind of say they're quite a dysfunctional family from top to bottom, and I think that's the thing. But it's like when I was watching Tess and I saw it, the BFI put out a Blu-ray of it like a couple of years ago, and I was watching it. And I was sort of acutely aware of the fact that I felt uncomfortable watching it on the basis of the kind of backstory that goes into it. And I sort of thought to myself, come on, try and see through that, and get over it. And I just found I couldn't. But on another level, it's such a beautiful film to look at that I think from a cinematic point of view, it's well worth checking out. And the BFI Blu-ray was beautiful as well. And
I want to see it. It's just I've just kind of been hesitant to pull the trigger on getting it.
No, I think
I will eventually.
Yeah, I think it's one of those ones where it comes out half price on the next sale.
And here, most Polanski movies I've seen, I love. Like The Pianist is the best movie about the Holocaust ever, in my opinion.
I've not seen it actually. So
it's amazing. I did not expect to like it as much as I did. Because
what's the one I watched the other day, where it's actually got him acting in it, and it's in Paris.
He's in a lot of his. The Tenet.
Yeah. Whoa, that was another one that kind of took me.
That's one of his apartment meltdown movies.
Yeah.
Repulsion.
That's a very strange film. And
when he's being chased by the other tenants and they have lizard eyes and forked tongues.
Yeah, it's a proper mad film, and I was pretty impressed by it, but. No,
molests that girl while watching a Bruce Lee movie.
Yeah, it's fairly standard, isn't it? I mean, I think we can safely say Roman has issues.
Oh yes, I think surviving the Holocaust and having your family murdered by Charles Manson's followers will screw with a man.
I mean, that's one of the things. Let's sort of cut some slack if we can.
Oh, I'm not saying he's. I mean, he's obviously. I think evil being perpetrated on you will causes a lot of people to perpetrate evil themselves.
Yeah, exactly.
Like it's why people who are molested become molesters.
Yeah, it's a vaguely
vicious. I'm not excusing it. That's just the way it happens.
Yeah, and I think it's like kind of I think it's fair to say you kind of had a fairly awful life, and I think that's something we certainly have to take into account. But kind of moving on just quickly. I mean, could talk about that. But I mean, anyway, it's shameless plug time. Because I mean, obviously you have your own podcast, and I have plugged it several times on this one. But just kind of remind everyone what the Midnight Movie Cowboys is.
Midnight Movie Cowboys is a podcast I do with an Australian named Stuart and a grumpy Colorado man named John Grace, and we generally talk about genre movies mostly. We recently did an episode on Southern Comfort. We had one just drop about Bad Day at Black Rock.
Oh yeah.
And we're doing a little tribute episode to Lau Kar Lung that I'm recording tomorrow. the Shaw Brothers director who died a year or so ago.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of, because I think we started out almost at the same time, if memory serves.
Yeah, I mean, we've been around for a few years. It started out just me and Stuart, and it was a little more, we were kind of trying to be the Hollywood Saloon a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, it was a kind of produced, and episodes were kind of few and far between because of it. And we decided to add a third person, and that way, it made it easier to get the show out weekly. We made the show weekly. We made it more conversational, kind of free form, and our listenership has gone up tremendously as a result.
Yeah. So. No, yeah, definitely. I mean, I can sort of highly recommend it. It's certainly one of the few podcasts that are on my sort of rotation of listening. And it's strange actually, because I've over the years I used to listen to loads of podcasts, and I found that my sort of podcast list of the ones I regularly listen to has decreased quite a lot.
Oh, same here.
And it tends to be the ones that are a bit more niche that I tend to kind of go for. I'm not so keen on the sort of the review show ones. In fact, I'm not.
You know what show I've been listening to lately is Ice-T's Final Level podcast.
Not heard.
Oh my gosh, you have to listen to it. It's insane.
No, I mean, my favorite discovery recently has been the Bret Easton Ellis podcast.
Oh yeah, I love Bret. I listen to Bret every week.
Yeah, there's something about that guy. He seems like the most normal, famous person ever. That's what I sort of like about him. And he kind of he was doing this brilliant kind of scything down of Catherine Bigelow films.
Oh yeah.
And I totally agreed with everything he was saying about Catherine Bigelow. But it seems to be this kind of conversation that we're not really supposed to have.
You're not allowed to have it because you sound like you hate women if you have it.
Yeah, and it was basically, and he was sort of saying, well, actually, she just makes men's films. And it's like, she does. Yeah, you know what I mean?
But what I loved recently, though, what's funny is when he has people on who disagree with him, and it suddenly becomes very weird and awkward, like when Fred Armisen was on the show. Yeah. And he violently disagreed with him about Catherine Bigelow. And Fred, on the next week's show with Ivan Reitman, he talked about it. He was like, Fred was really nice, but during the show, it was really awkward.
Yeah, no, it's funny, but he was doing this dissection of when he does plugs for products as well the other day, and he was saying that how he only actually plugs things that he genuinely thinks are worth buying. And what's kind of I liked about him was that I actually thought, he probably actually does genuinely think that's worth buying, and that's what I sort of quite admire his kind of honesty in that respect. But
and he said he plugs Dollar Shave Club, and he says, I don't get stressed out buying razors and things, I don't either. That's why I don't subscribe to Dollar Shave Club. But I do know guys who do. Who do dread going to buy razors and stuff. So he said his boyfriend dreads buying razors. So he's just like, okay, well, obviously this is a product with a proper application.
It's an issue, and he's going to help kind of solve it. But no, I mean, I guess we're kind of coming round to kind of the topic of this show, which is kind of really. And one of the reasons why I thought it'd be kind of interesting to do this episode was really kind of the fact that I think there will be such a level of disagreement about this film.
Yes, and I love that, because I think I need to disagree more on my show, because I kind of have the same taste as the guys on my show. So we find ourselves agreeing a lot, and I'm like, we need somebody with who just thinks Dark Knight's the best movie ever made and is 20 years old, and
well, I mean, it's just kind of giving you this anecdote. I mean, about a year ago, there was we were talking at work about the best directors ever made, and someone asked me to write down my list of top 10 directors, and not on my list was Steven Spielberg, and someone was like, "Whoa, how can you possibly say this?"
Yeah,
and I was like, "Well, legitimately, in my life, I'm saying legitimately." Steven Spielberg, I do not think is one of the best directors who ever lived. And I ended up having this kind of debate with someone. And it wasn't a debate. It was the worst type of debate you can have, which is basically two people just shouting at each other as to why. And, there's no opinion being expressed. When someone's just saying, but that opening of Saving Private Ryan. I'm like, the opening of Saving Private, the rest of Saving Private Ryan, blah, 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 blah. And it gets on like that. And what I found was that when you disagree violently with someone, and it's very, very hard, I think, to have a conversation or a debate
which is reasoned, I think very quickly things kind of slip, and you suddenly start getting into basically, like one of the reasons why I don't go on many kind of Facebook groups and forums, because in the end it's just people shouting opinions at each other.
Well, it's worse on Facebook because, I mean, nobody looks at each other and empathizes with each other. No. So it's, it's a lot more bloodthirsty. It can devolve into personal attacks and insults and stuff.
Yeah, and
very quickly.
It's the thing about kind of like the last temptation of Christ was, I mean, I can, as we will kind of dig into, I can, what I hope will be legitimate reasons why this film for me doesn't really mean very much. But
no, I'm interested.
I mean, I think it's kind of like worth. I kind of don't want to kind of go down the kind of the religion topic too much.
Sure.
I think it's quite important before we begin to talk about kind of our beliefs, because
yeah.
And I know. I mean, I'll get to me in a minute, but can you just kind of talk about your kind of religious beliefs first?
I'm a Roman Catholic. I converted to Catholicism last year. I've been Catholic for about a year.
Okay.
And before that, I was Episcopalian, i.e. very casual Christian. In college, I was kind of nothing, although I identified as Christian. I was raised Episcopalian, but I was baptized as a Catholic. My parents converted to meet in the middle because my mom's family didn't like Catholics. Very, Protestant family.
Okay, and what kind of what brought on that change, do you think?
Me becoming Catholic? Or,
yeah.
It just kind of felt like a calling. I was reading books by Chesterton, and I started attending church with my parents it was something to do with my parents, and I started feeling this urge to study more about the faith because, the richness of the background and the traditions of the church were very interesting to me. All the art and philosophy and literature that's come out of it was very inspiring to me. And I started taking the classes for adult confirmation and just to try it, see if I liked it. And I got really into it. And, then I ended up converting at getting confirmed at the Easter Mass. My uncle was my sponsor. And this year I sponsored a friend of mine who converted as well. So it's a very important part of my life, and a very positive part of my life, I feel. But I did have a religious upbringing, and I did go to Catholic school when I was in high school. So it's always been something that's been around.
Yeah, and it's something like in later life that you feel has become more important to you.
Right, like it became something that was important to me later on when I was in my early 20s. More hedonistic pleasures took priority.
yeah. I mean, cause that's one of the things I find quite interesting about a lot of people who I know who are religious. Who, the older they get, it seems the more kind of into it they do become. And I always say that if you're 90 and the end is nigh, it might be a good insurance policy to take out to become religious. I mean,
it's like that famous Voltaire quote when he was on his deathbed. The priest said, "You need to renounce Satan," and he said, "My good man, now is not the time to make enemies."
Yeah, well, I mean, it's true, and things. But I mean, I have noticed that's kind of quite a lot of people I know, like as I said, who the older they get, they suddenly once those kind of hedonistic years are behind them, kind of settle down and sort of begin to kind of think about their faith. And it doesn't seem to be, I don't know many people who have gone from being sort of no faith to having faith. They sort of kind of, they're people who seem to be on the peripheral who then kind of jump in. And Sunday today. I mean, have you been at church today? Are you a regular kind of?
Not yet. I'm going in the afternoon. Yeah, and with Catholicism, you're pretty much required to go to church. It's it's expected that you go every Sunday. And I haven't missed Mass yet, so since I started going.
This is another thing. Do you find as well, being like kind of a younger person, being religious? I mean, are you kind of like in a minority with your friends, or is it kind of like most of your friends are kind of religious as well?
Oh my goodness! When I lived in Memphis, none of my friends were religious. It was kind of, they thought it was weird when they found out I went to church.
Right.
I used to live in Memphis, Tennessee, and nobody there was religious. Everybody there was, kind of atheist, anarcho-vegan types,
Right.
But that was the sort of folk I hung out with. And, when they heard I went to church, they were like, what? But moving to Dallas, more of my friends are people that I grew up with, and they grew up kind of with a similar background. So they're either kind of vaguely religious or, or are religious. Like, one of my good friends just converted to Catholicism. So I do go to groups for young Catholics.
Right.
So I do meet a lot of people and I'm a Knight of Columbus as well. So I meet a lot of people there. So I have developed a more religious group of friends here.
Yeah.
But if I go to Memphis, I'll be hanging out with
the godless heathens. Yeah.
Yeah, the godless heathens, which I love them too.
Yeah, I mean, and I guess, it's like, you sort of touched on it, but I mean, like, how important is religion in your life on kind of like a daily basis? I mean, do you kind of like, is it always there in kind of every kind of thought, I suppose?
It should be. I start my day every day. I try to anyway. I'm not going to say I am consistent with this, but I try to start my day every day with morning readings and reflection and prayer. It's just because I find I have a better day when I do that. I'm a little more centered. I have, my day is less chaotic if I stop and do that.
Yeah.
So I try to do that every day, save for Sundays because I spend more time in church and stuff.
Yeah.
And so I wouldn't say it could be more. I could do more to read up on things, but like I could read some more, St. Augustine or something every day, like incorporate readings and things into my day-to-day, but, I'm reading Paul Stanley's autobiography instead.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's kind of strange. I mean, I guess I can kind of like talk about myself in this respect, but I don't know anyone. I don't have any close friends who I would say are part of my immediate circle of friends who are religious. I don't, and there was, from a very early age, I don't even recall having a stage where I was kind of even sort of undecided or anything like that. And that one thing, I mean, you touch on there, but it's sort of like, you touch me, I find people who are sort of like, they're not sure, kind of more annoying than people who are religious. Because it's like, how can you not be sure?
It's like there's this episode of Metalocalypse where Murderface is trying to find religion, and he tries, Christianity, Satanism, all that stuff, and he tries the Church of Atheism, and they go and sit in the pew, and the preacher's going, "Oh God, in whom we do not believe," and then eventually you hear a ruckus outside, and they go, "It's the agnostics."
Yeah, and
there are people outside of signs that say God may not exist.
It's like, I don't get how you can't know. It seems to me it's one of those things where it seems so important to have like either faith or not faith, that I can't understand people who are sitting on the fence. And I mean, I remember, I mean, I've never really been religious. My parents are virtually communists, so.
Oh, okay. I was going to ask what your parents were.
No. I mean, my grandfather is religious, and.
Well, what is he?
It's Church of England. So. Okay.
So he's just kind of Episcopalian.
Yeah, and then I mean. Yeah, he was kind of the only kind of religious family member that I know of, but there was nothing like that. But I went to a school where one of the teachers was a particularly pious old bat, and she used to come out with these like ridiculous things like, if I spent more time praying and less time playing football, I'd be better at maths. And it's like, well, that just seemed ridiculous to me when I was an 8-year-old. And as my kind of like life went on, I seem to remember I didn't consciously think about kind of faith and religion until I guess about 10 years ago, where I suddenly started to kind of, it seems odd to say I got into atheism, but I suddenly got into kind of like the critical way of looking at religion, and it kind of came with discovery of like, Christopher Hitchens.
Yes, Dawkins.
Well, I mean, I'll come to Richard Dawkins in a minute, but I mean, I think
Dawkins is kind of an annoying old fuck.
Yeah. We'll come to him in a second, but I think the most profound kind of person who had an impact on that was Sam Harris, who I think is a brilliant author and kind of orator. And there was a sort of the kind of political correctness of the last Labour government here was pretty much, it's great that we have all this diversity, and people like Sam Harris were like, well, actually, let's look at, what religion is, and let's think about it in a slightly more kind of, objective way. And I remember sort of kind of getting into it then, and I began to sort of see how kind of really kind of like how religion would kind of clash with my worldview more and more the more I sort of got into it, and like you said, one of the people who I kind of like what he says and his books and stuff, but Richard Dawkins, who I love his books, he did some great TV programs, but he's just a dick. I really can't stand him personally, but there was that movement of him, Daniel Dennett and things like that, and I've become quite into kind of humanism and atheism and that kind of stuff. I go to a group in Manchester, the Manchester Humanists kind of group. We meet up every month and that kind of thing, and trying to talk about kind of issues relating to kind of religion and ethics and that kind of thing. And I guess it's as close as you can find to kind of an atheist, someone going to church is an atheist going to one of these groups. And it's quite strange because people often say, well, what do you talk about, like your lack of belief? And it's like, well, kind of. It's like you sort of sit there, I don't believe in God, neither do I. It's not like that.
Oh God, in whom we do not believe.
It's a bit like that, and it sounds a bit kind of strange. It's one of the things about kind of like one of the reasons why atheists like to whinge about how much sort of like how offensive they find kind of religious groups, but because of kind of the nature of atheism, it doesn't sort of kind of like form itself into groups like that. It's more like an ideal. You don't have the Church of Atheism. You don't see kind of like 100,000 atheists coming together saying we're pro-abortion. Like
they do have, like in America, these atheist churches, quote unquote, have been popping up, but I don't think there's like an orthodoxy around.
Yeah, there's not like the 12 commandments. The 10 commandments of atheism. You know what I mean? It's sort of like that's kind of and I personally feel like because my sort of thoughts on religion and how kind of I kind of go back has become quite important to me over the past few years, and a lot more than it was. And I think there's a kind of struggle. David Cameron's just come out recently and said we're a Christian nation, and I think if you're in politics, it probably pays to sort of invoke God. It certainly doesn't hurt you to say, I can't believe there aren't any atheists in the American government. That's just ridiculous. Obama's an atheist. The fucking Pope's an atheist. I'm sorry, he certainly speaks like one. And it's certainly these things come out, and it's I couldn't disagree with David Cameron's view that it's a Christian nation more. And it's kind of like there was someone put a clip on YouTube the other day, and it was Bono on Facebook the other day. It was Bono talking about religion. He was saying just yes, he believes in God, yes, he believes in Jesus and stuff like that. And he said it's either that or 50% of the world are suffering some kind of delusion. And I sort of completely agreed with what he's saying. I do think it's a delusion of sorts. and when you say that to people, they kind of go, well, you can't say that. It's really offensive and stuff like that. But I do think. Sorry, my cat's there.
Oh, that's fine.
Let me just get the water spray. Hang on. That sounds really harsh, but it's the only thing that makes him fuck off.
I have friends who do that to their cats, and it seems to work.
1 minute. 1 minute. Yeah, and sorry, going back to it. Yeah, I do sort of think it's like when people say that they kind of hear the voice of God. To me, as an atheist, because God doesn't exist, I wonder what are they hearing? And obviously, it's when you get into the kind of the realms of the sort of the theological kind of type stuff. Sorry, mate. Right, got him. Yeah. I mean, it's like, kind of when it kind of goes to that. I mean, is it something like? I mean, you often hear kind of like sometimes I think kind of Christians are quite good at coming off like being this kind of oppressed minority. And it's when people don't agree with the fact that they're kind of like, of their beliefs. I mean, do you find that kind of like you have to kind of justify being religious sometimes, or is it something you're quite happy with just saying that this is who I am? And
I'm kind of happy just saying, look, this is who I am. This is what I believe. I don't really feel the need to justify it, but I don't have a lot of people coming at me about it either. And when I do, because when I went back to Memphis. One of my good friends there goes, "Hey man, are you all right?" And I said, "Yeah, why?" And he goes, "You're not like dying or anything?" I said, "No." And he goes, "Well, yeah, I mean, I saw you became Catholic. I was worried,
Yeah, like some sort of.
I was like, no. And he was like, "Well, what's up with that?" And I just said, "Look, it's just a personal journey I've been on, and this is who I am. And this is what I believe." And he goes, "All right, just as long as you don't try to convert me or anything." I was like, "Oh yeah."
But it's like it's got that thing. It's like when people say like they're against gays, and they're like they say things like, "I don't mind them as long as they don't try and turn me into one." It's like, well, how many times has that actually happened in your life? How many?
I don't know. I get a lot of large men in the bear community. I'm sure would love to turn me into one.
Yeah. But no, I think it's like that kind of like that threat that doesn't really exist that people like to kind of like pretend is kind of out there to get them. But I mean,
And and look, I totally understand how people can be really fucking annoyed by the I guess what you would call the fundamentalist right, like the sort of fundamentalist American Christian types.
I think something has gone very wrong in America with religion.
I mean, I do think there's a lot of garbage Christianity out there,
Yeah, I mean, a
lot of you go to some of these mega churches. I mean, it's like, it's like a Kiss concert.
Well, I mean, it's like pray to God and subscribe to $39.99 a month.
Oh yeah,
my special Bible thing, and I can't remember the guy's name, but he's the most scariest looking dude, and he's this kind of like mega preacher. And my favorite was
Pat Robertson, or
no, he's a younger guy, and I can't remember his name now, but I was watching the God Channel or something the other day, and he was on
the God Channel.
No, we do have something like that on Sky, and I was watching that, and I thought there is not a chance in hell I would leave you alone with my kids.
Yeah.
It's just that thing. And my favourite all time was Ted Haggart, of course. He's just priceless. I mean, he's an absolute role model to me.
Right.
Anyone who goes and smokes crack and has sex with prostitutes, you know what I mean? Deserves our respect. And then, but yeah, I think something very wrong happened in America and we will probably touch on it when we talk about the controversy surrounding it.
A lot of religious types fled Europe to kind of practice their own version of Christianity. Their own like Quakers and the Pilgrims and all that. They were trying to get away from Catholicism and all this. And so, there was a very anti-Catholic sentiment in America for a long time. And in many ways, there still is in certain areas. But,
and how bored are you now of having to talk about child abuse in the Catholic Church?
It's,
I mean, it's a horrendous. I mean, let's get wrong. I mean, it's a horrendous thing, but I mean,
it's awful. I mean, and gosh, it feels like there are monsters in everywhere in this world.
Yeah, I mean, really, I think
it's really terrible that happened to kids.
Well, I mean, I think just to kind of say, a friend of mine who's Catholic, she was saying it's an institutional problem within the church, not on an individual basis of often the people who. The congregants are the ones. They're the victims, as it were, and that's the sort of thing. And there's this sort of. I mean, I was having a debate with somebody the other day.
Isn't it funny how sex scandals like that are never handled properly? It feels with it, whether it's the church or anybody else, it always feels like, let's try to keep this quiet, pay him some money, move this guy somewhere else. But the problem is, people who don't molest children don't understand that people who molest children are going to keep molesting children.
Yeah.
Nobody ever rapes a child, well, wasn't for me.
Yeah.
That's in you. That's something, it's like taking a shit. It's something you have to do if you are that person.
Yeah, and it's a sickening thing. But I mean, it's one of those things where I think I have seen it, and people have spoken to me about it. Was as Catholics, people have kind of blamed them personally for their church doing this, and it's sort of I think it kind of it's bigger than that. I think, and it's kind of one of the things that kind of pisses me off a little bit when it kind of.
The thing about the church is there have been amazing popes, and there have been really terrible popes. I have a book called "Good Pope, Bad Pope,"
right?
About the best and the worst.
The Borgias. I mean,
there were some popes that were just like complete. There's some hair-raising stories when you read. About some of the, but I do think it speaks to something about the church that it has managed to survive. The worst of the worst in terms of things happening to it. It still somehow perseveres and remains relevant, and I think that's another thing that is interesting to me.
Yeah, and I think this new pope has gone a long way. I mean, he's someone who he's someone who kind of like atheists seem to get behind as well, because he seems to say a lot of things which. And I think it comes back to that kind of when we talk about it in a minute, what I call American Republican Jesus, and like the Sarah Palins, who they believe in that type of one. This one who kind of believes in that they should be incredibly rich, and that's what Jesus would want. And this new pope seems.
If a priest ever tells you God wants me to drive a BMW, he's not a good priest.
Yeah, exactly. And I think this new pope, I think he's kind of he's sort of. I mean, at the end of the day, to me, there's a lot of hyperbole about him. This guy's great. At the end of the day, he still believes in what I consider to be kind of supernatural and nonsense, basically. But the Pope is more media savvy than Benedict was. Yeah, I think we can all sort of say, like, a lot of people kind of like him. But kind of moving on really to kind of like religion and films, because although I didn't have kind of any kind of religious beliefs as a kid, I loved Bible stories.
I do too, and it's I have a kind of this fascination with the ancient world, and the biblical times, and I love. What are some of your favorite biblical?
Well, I mean, we discussed it before we kind of came on, but the story of Noah.
The Aronofsky.
I mean, that film. One of the reasons was, I couldn't wait for that film to come out, and when I saw those first trailers, and I was kind of like thinking to myself, well, this is going to be a great film. I know it might be sort of like unfashionable to say I like Russell Crowe films. I like Russell Crowe as an actor. I
like him too. Stuart hates him because he supports the Sydney Rabbitohs.
Oh, it doesn't surprise me. Stuart hate him if one of his eyebrows looks slightly strange. But the thing is about it's like, and I saw the trailer for that, and I was like, wow, I can't wait to watch that. And then someone I knew was like, yeah, but you don't believe in it. And I said, well, it's not the point of not believing it. Last Sunday, 10 Commandments goes on every Easter for me. I know it's not really an Easter film, but I love those stories. And
right.
The kind of the history of kind of the Bible and film stuff. Some of my favourite films are stories based around religious themes, and certainly I think Ben-Hur is, although it's not a Bible story,
truly you are the King of Kings.
Well, I mean, it's for all intents and purposes, if it was in the Bible, I would certainly have a lot more appreciation of the Bible, because I think
the thing about the Bible is like it has a lot of great stories in it, stories you can get stuff out of. You don't necessarily have to believe in God and Jesus and all of that to get something out of it.
Yeah, and it makes for good cinema. I think
like that's one thing that kind of troubles me about a lot of modern atheists, is that they want to just like throw these documents out. They have worth even if you don't buy into it. You can enjoy it and get stuff out of it. Make great movies or
exactly
or glean things from it. I mean, they don't just because. I mean, I just think throwing it out completely and discounting it and saying, "Oh well, I don't believe," I think that's a terrible mistake.
Yeah, I mean, Christopher Hitchens always used to say, for some of the best, the Bible in terms of kind of like, is it the King James Bible or what, or something like that? He says it's one of the most beautiful written things ever.
Oh, I know. I love Christopher Hitchens, and a lot of my Catholic friends love Christopher Hitchens, and it's because he's a great writer. He has great opinions, and I don't have to agree with everything a writer says for me to enjoy them.
Yeah, exactly. And Christopher Hitchens loved the English language, and that's why he was such a proponent of reading the Bible. And I mean, this is another thing people say. Like, for an atheist, I read the Bible a lot, and it sometimes surprises a lot of people. And I read it because it's one I like. Kind of like, if I'm going to go into kind of debates, I like to kind of at least have some sort of basis of kind of counterpoints, because that's the other thing. A lot of people kind of take hear safe when they go into it, but I like reading it because I like reading it. That's
a lot of the intense atheists I know, they've never even read it, and I'm kind of like, don't you want to know what it is you don't believe in?
yeah, you need to understand what it is that you're rioting against.
They all just say, oh, it's they all just get their kind of like little hearsay soundbite attack. Pieces for the Bible, and it's a terrible mistake. Read it, look at it. Read Confessions by St. Augustine.
I can, certainly. It's like I've read an English version of the Quran, and
especially speaking of confessions, if you want to look into ancient life, I mean that's one of the most vivid looks into it. I mean,
yeah, exactly. Wow. It's a historical. Well, I don't think in terms of fact, I don't believe it's a historical doctrine, but it's written in a historical context, and
I actually. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, sorry. No, it's
I was going to say I actually quite want to read the Quran. I've never read the Quran.
Yeah, it's basically a kind of hash job of the Bible and the Torah. But again, we're not. That's a kind of another topic for another day. But I mean, I found like throughout my life, I've been drawn to films with about religion from Bible stories, and for Hollywood, it's been a goldmine, really, hasn't it? Over the years.
Oh yeah, I mean, Cecil B. DeMille made his career adapting stories from the Bible.
And you kind of go back and watch. What's the one with John Wayne in it? Is it King of Kings?
Gosh.
Or is it I think it might be The Greatest Story Ever Told. And I mean,
I'm not sure. Max von Sydow played Jesus.
Yeah. I think it's The Greatest Story Ever Told. I mean, when that bit with John Wayne in it, nothing's funnier.
It's not as funny though as John Wayne playing Genghis Khan.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty bad. But I mean, there's something about those films where they take themselves so seriously, and they're so kind of and they're so worthy and stuff like that. And then you have kind of Pasolini, one of an absolute diehard atheist. You can't really ask for anyone who kind of
atheist, communist, homosexual.
Yeah, who makes
check.
think who I think has made one of the best religious films of all time.
That's one of my all-time favorites. That and what's Rossellini's Flowers of St. Francis.
I've not seen the Sounds of St. Francis.
Tom, you got to see it. It's amazing.
Yeah, no.
Amazing. How dumb. It's one of my favorite neorealist movies. He used actual Franciscan monks to play Francis and his brother, and it's a funny movie. It has Fellini co-wrote it. Right. It has this sort of sense of humor and these very Fellini moments that you will know immediately when you see them. But it's one of my all-time favorite movies.
Yeah, I mean, have you ever seen Jesus of Montreal as well?
No, I haven't.
No, that's definitely worth checking out, because that's and again another quite kind of, I think he just nails what it, I mean. It's one of the ones that actually makes you think. It made me certainly think a lot about the whole kind of the allegory and all that kind of thing.
Have you guys talked about Gospel of Matthew on Masters of Cinema yet?
Not yet. No, we'll get you back.
Okay, because I just got it. I got that Blu-ray recently.
Yeah, no,
I didn't know they released it. When I saw it, I immediately imported it.
Yeah, no, it's a great, it's a brilliant film. I've watched it quite recently, and that's probably my favourite, I think, of all kind of the stories of Jesus. Actually, saying the Ben-Hur one, but I mean, Ben-Hur's not really. It's about Jesus, kind of. You see his feet.
He makes a cameo.
Yeah, you see his feet quite a lot. Do you know, quite funny actually. I saw a still of the guy that actually played Jesus in Ben-Hur, and they actually kind of cast him with long hair and. He looks like Jesus, but that kind of image of Jesus. It's like surely you only needed his feet, surely. So I can't quite understand why they went in the whole on that department. But no, yeah, definitely the Gospel according to St. Matthew is certainly one of my favourites. But I guess to kind of come back to the Last Temptation of Christ, because this was, I think, it's an interesting thing about kind of there's a certain few directors who you try and look at their work, and because of who they are. You try and look more into it and think, rather than saying it's outright terrible, you try and think to yourself, it's an interesting failure, which tends to be the kind of the nice way of saying that you don't like the film.
And this has this is Scorsese and Paul Schrader. This is the team that made Taxi Driver, Raging Bull.
Exactly. So I'm going into this thinking, right, this is going to be, yeah. So I go into the Last Temptation of Christ, and I'm thinking, right, this will be. I'm looking forward to this. It's Paul Schrader, it's Martin Scorsese, and I'm watching it thinking, no, I'm not getting this. I'm not enjoying it. I'm not this. And at the end of it, I was kind of like, oh, it's an interesting failure. And then I'm like, no, Tom, you hated every single minute of this film. And I tried to kind of reconcile why, and I was like, right, no, you should it's like, for example, the Hunger Games. I maintain that these films are absolute masterpieces. And I get ripped to shit for it. And
I saw the first one and I thought it was quite good, but I've heard the second one's great.
Yeah, and I'm trying to kind of convince people, and probably myself, that these films are a lot better than they actually are. And nothing can tell me they're not at the moment. And The Last Temptation of Christ, I went away and I was thinking, right, Scorsese, Schrader, this film is good. This film is good. And then, having gone back to it, I'm thinking...
you have a roll of passes in your pocket for certain names, right? If it's it's Scorsese, it's all right,
Yeah, and I'm thinking, no, I don't like this film at all. And I suppose we need to kind of get into... Because I think the key to understanding this film really happens at the opening, the very first scroll that comes up, which tells you implicitly this film is not based on gospel.
No, it's not. It's based on the novel by Nikos Kazantzakis. I can't remember how you say his last name.
Whatever.
But it's based on a novel. It's not based on the Gospels.
Yeah, and this is a very, very different Jesus who we're getting.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in here that is non-canon,
Yeah, and it's kind of like, the way I kind of think about it, it's like a Wolverine line in Marvel. This is not, it's a very different interpretation of the story of Christ, and I'm fine with that. I have absolutely no problem. accepting the fact that what they've tried to do is to make it, a very different film. What I have problems with really is the execution, and I'm not talking, and I mean the film itself. That's not some kind of cheap pun, the execution. But I think because it's very tough when you do this type of thing to make something that doesn't really kind of reek of Hollywood. And unfortunately, I think the issues with this film begin very early on from a casting perspective, because I think the cast of this film is absolutely atrocious.
I am not going to completely disagree with that, because you and I have joked about this, but the apostles, Peter and all the rest. I mean, it's like, hey, I'm Peter the Chin. This is Jimmy. This is James the Gent.
It's like, Iron Pudding Marshy up the floor. Yeah, it's just like, what? Kind of like, who are these people? And
hey, yo, Jesus.
It's, and I mean,
need to get baptized over here.
It's that bad, and I can't work out, like, the reasoning behind that. And I know it's tough. The Gospel of Matthew, the actors look like Italians, don't they? Let's be honest.
Like Judas Iscariot looks like a complete wop.
It's like you can't help but think. But I just think if you're going to cast a film like this, firstly, Willem Dafoe. I'm always conflicted with Willem Dafoe, whether or not I actually sort of think he's a very good actor at all. And sometimes I think I've watched as a brilliant.
He has a great face, I will say.
Yeah, exactly. And there's a film that came out a couple of years ago, actually, called The Hunter, which was one of my favourite films of the year.
Oh yeah, I remember that one.
Great film, but in this, his performance is so crazy and out there half the time.
It is like. Here's the thing: is I'm not sure Willem Dafoe is the best choice for Jesus. I mean, it's almost like his ugliness. It's like Scorsese was trying to get as far away from the divine postcard Jesus, as possible. So we're gonna hire this kind of weird looking guy, Willem Dafoe, who was making waves in movies like Platoon. So I think. That was probably the reasoning behind casting him, but his performance is very strange. It's very jarring to see early on in the film to see Jesus so confused, so conflicted, trying to. He's building cross. He's a carpenter and he's building crosses so the Romans can crucify Jesus. He's trying to be a terrible person in the eyes of God, so God will leave him alone. And when he first starts preaching, he really sucks at it.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, he's terrible at it. It's painful to watch.
Yeah, it is.
It's embarrassing. It's like watching a 90s indie American movie. It's just that awkward.
Yeah, and I mean,
it's very jarring to see that. And I think that was and that's one of the many things about this movie that's probably very scandalous to Christians, is seeing Jesus so unconfident and so unsure of himself and so conflicted, and so there's a madness in Dafoe's performance that I find intriguing, fascinating, and I'm not sure if it works. And if you listen to Scorsese talk about it, he's not really sure if the movie works either. So
yeah, and I mean, it's like that opening where we see him making the crosses and things like that.
I want to crucify all of his messiahs.
And well, I mean, the door opens and then this guy strolls in.
Hey, it's Judas the Ginger.
Well, no, it's not even Judas. Some other guy walks in first and just walks in, and then suddenly Judas is there. And I've got to talk about Harvey Keitel's hair. Sorry, he looks like Annie. It's ridiculous, and he's got this kind of awful prosthetic nose on. And I'm just sat there looking at him, thinking, "This is Harvey Keitel." This is
he and Scorsese hadn't worked together in a while, had they? I mean. Because Keitel was in all of his early films, and then Scorsese started putting De Niro in everything.
But yeah, I'm just watching this, and he's literally "Come on, Jesus, you fucking dumb, fuck you," and
he's like,
yeah, I keep expecting we've
Jesus, come on, what the fuck you doing over here?
It's like I keep expecting, and we've joked about this before. I keep expecting the next thing Joe Pesci to turn up and be like, "The fuck." Jesus, you dumb fuck you, and it's like I'm sat there thinking, but that's the problem with the casting of this film, and when the performances are this bad.
It went too far when Jesus told James to get his shine box.
Yeah, well, it's like, you know, it's like kind of like slapping Jesus around. He's like, you know, it's like you can tell he's itching. I bet there are scenes on the cutting floor where it's like, fucking get your fucking head together, you know, and like, and it's like, you know, you got Joe. Well, but I'm so taken out of the film that I can't look at it seriously.
Yeah, and you know what's funny is that you bring that up, because Scorsese said, you know, from a young age, like, he was fascinated by the Hollywood Bible epics, like he loved them. And but so when he first started making films, he said he wanted to do a movie about. He always wanted to do a movie about the life of Jesus, like from when he started making movies. He said, and then he said he wanted to make a film about the Gospels, but do it like a neo-realist style in New York City, like in modern New York. Like he wanted to do it like it had never been done. So his initial concept was it would be the story of Christ, but in New York in modern day. And he said that idea went into the garbage when he saw Gospel According to Matthew, the Pasolini film.
Yeah.
And he said this idea of he didn't want the people in the movie to speak like they were on the BBC.
Yeah.
Like they did in old Hollywood movies. Everybody has British accents, you know. They all speak in this sort of old way. He said he wanted the people in the movie to talk like normal people, and they were like, well, how do we get them to talk like people did back then? Well, we're just going to, and they were talking about the different accents and things, so they said, well, we're going to have it be the talk in a modern way, and that'll be it's kind of a carryover from Scorsese's original neo-realist concept for the movie, was having people talk like they were having a debate on the corner of in Times Square in New York, you know, and so that was kind of where they were coming from. Like they talked a lot in the commentary track about the way they talk and just the decisions behind that. It was quite interesting, but it did take me out of the movie when I first saw it, but it's almost one of those things about it I almost find endearing.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, this is the thing. I'm not supposed to find this film funny.
No.
And yet I'm sat there like smirking away to myself. And you know, perhaps that might come down to a sense of kind of like vague immaturity, really. You know,
one of the most bizarre casting bits was Irvin Kershner as Zebedee.
Oh,
hey, I have no sins to hide. The director of Empire Strikes Back.
I know. Well, I mean, we can
I'm
get
gonna
on
throw rocks at this bitch, you know.
We can get on to cameos, and boy, will we. But, you know, it's like, I'm watching this film, and you know, it's, everyone's got perfect blue eyes, perfect teeth, perfect hair. I mean, Barbara Hershey, you know, she looks like she's just like stepped off.
Barbara Hershey kind of looked like a sweaty, filthy lady. You know?
Oh, no, there's some bits she does look a bit too, well, that's it, she's almost like too good looking or something like that, you know. She's a whore, but we'll make her just a nice whore, you know, just kind of like nothing. But, you know, it's to me it's jarring, and I find it, when it's a film that's so serious. I mean, this is, you know, Jesus is he's a very significant person, let's be honest.
It's kind of funny. One thing I was noticed when I watched it again yesterday was Jesus's hair.
Yes.
Willem Dafoe's hair. It starts off, his hair's very short, kind of like the way Jewish men would have had it back then, like the guy who played Jesus in Gospel According to Matthew. But then when he becomes the Jesus of the Gospels, when we enter that realm, he kind of becomes glowing hair, blue-eyed Jesus.
No, he becomes what I call Republican Jesus.
Yeah, well, even though Republican Jesus followers did not like this movie.
Oh, no, we can go on to the controversy, but yeah, he becomes Republican Jesus, which is this kind of blonde hair, blue-eyed, white-teethed American.
And I think that's what and they said what they wanted to have that image and kind of almost subvert it a little bit with the content of the movie. You know, anyways, sorry.
No, it's just, to me, I don't know, and this is, I guess it's like, how do you cast Jesus? That's
like not subverting Jesus necessarily, but subverting the that image of Jesus, I guess.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe I'm misspeaking for them. I'm not sure.
No, I mean, because this is the thing. I mean, I think it's like an important point to make, really, which is like, you know, Jesus was Jewish, and I think this is something which has happened kind of in kind of the Christian world over the years, in that he has been westernized.
Yeah, I mean, and one thing you will see with every Christian community is that they will take Jesus and make him look like they do.
Yeah, exactly.
So white people, you have, like, in Italy, in the Renaissance, Jesus looked like, there was, in the Sistine Chapel during on the Final Judgment painting that Michelangelo did, Jesus doesn't even have a beard. He looks like a, Italian guy from that time.
Yeah.
You go to Korea, you will see Korean Jesus, like in 21 Jump Street. You go to Africa, you will see African Jesus.
Yeah.
But so you go to, white Southern America, you will see white Republican Jesus.
Yeah, and and to me, I guess I take kind of Scorsese to task on that a little bit, because I think this film, I don't think it has a kind of a universal appeal like it should do. I think it's a film made for an American audience.
Yeah, I mean, I think Paul Schrader talked about taking the more Western elements from the book and using those in the script. I think he openly admits to doing that.
Yeah.
But I think again, with the image of Jesus they were using, I think they were trying to take this divine image we've created of Jesus and then show Jesus having that human struggle that we see. I think that was the whole concept behind it. I don't think they were shooting for realism necessarily.
Yeah.
I think there was an artistic idea behind it that they were trying to achieve.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess it's kind of like cards on the table saying, but I mean, what do you kind of make of this film? I mean, as a kind of the Catholic, I mean, how do you feel about it from a kind of spiritual point of view?
Well, like Paul Schrader was saying that there are things in the movie that people have said are blasphemous, and he said they're absolutely right. There are blasphemous ideas. I think that the point of the story is to explore the humanity of Jesus, and that is a noble, I think, artistic idea to explore Jesus' humanity, because we often forget that Jesus is fully human and fully divine, and and that is a problematic duality to wrap your head around. So it feels like I'm torn on the concept, because on the one hand, exploring Jesus' humanity, I think, helps some people identify more with Jesus, but it almost feels like it's fully dragging him down a bit. But I mean, Jesus' humanity is explored quite well in the Bible with the Garden of Gethsemane and those kind of naked, emotional scenes. That's the bit Mel Gibson opened The Passion with.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things, like, I suppose in terms of kind of like, and I don't want to sound like I'm kind of trying to patronise the film thing, but I mean, one of the things I do like about The Last Temptation of the Christ is that I don't look at the screen and feel like I'm looking at someone who's divine.
Right. Like that's what's so jarring about it, is that you are seeing a very human Jesus, and I think that is a hard thing for someone to, for a Christian to see. It's a very difficult thing to see. It almost feels wrong. It feels scandalous. You see this. I mean, he almost feels like a crazy person at times in the movie.
Oh, absolutely. And this is one of the things. I mean, as an exploration of someone who's suffering from paranoid schizophrenia, I think this film is way more successful than. I mean, but I think
the only time Jesus felt divine to me in the movie was when he says it is finished. It almost felt like that. Overcoming that temptation felt like a very. That felt like him just completely overcoming that human side of him.
Yeah, I mean, there's a bit where he's walking along next to like a river or something like that, and it's not helped by the awful voiceover. And they're doing. He says like, who's talking, who's looking, and he turns round and he's like looking at things, and he suddenly collapses.
You hear a bird. They said God was supposed to be like a bird. Like the opening shot is the camera flying through the air,
right?
And you hear like a flapping of wings. It's supposed to be like God's like this bird in his mind clawing at his brain.
Yeah, and he kind of like, he turns around, he's like, who's talking? And he kind of claps on the floor. And I'm thinking, this guy's got proper mental health issues. That's how I'm kind of seeing. Because the other thing Scorsese doesn't do is you don't sort of hear this kind of like God talking, and it kind of takes lots of kind of the mystical things out of the kind of.
I think it feels like a very mystical movie, but in the part I'm thinking of specifically is whenever Jesus is alone in the desert.
Yeah,
that's the part of the movie that feels very like old, ancient Bible, like when he's tempted by the very low budget, use of here's a snake and it's talking to him.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how I feel about Satan being a column of fire. I don't know if that really works. It doesn't strike me as satanic at all. Like I know that almost feels like something Moses would see in the desert.
Yeah, I mean Moses.
God talks to him.
Yeah, Moses saw some funky shit, but I mean, It's
and did you know that the voice of the column? Do you know who the voice of the column is?
No.
The fiery column. It's Scorsese and the writer of Peeping Tom.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
That is kind of a satanic combination.
It's their voices melded together.
Yeah, it says kind of like quirky type things, but I mean, I guess the fact that I was raised on I used to enjoy the kind of the big, the Cecil B. DeMille type stuff. That when you go into the Last Temptation of Christ, it's a gritty, dirty film.
Yes, it is.
And it's not this isn't it's not shot in a scope frame. It's a very kind of tight 185 frame, and it sounds a bit strange, but when I was watching it, I was thinking I sort of became, because I'm so used to seeing this kind of big budget film. Like I said to you off air, I went to go and watch Noah, and that's a big film. It's a big Hollywood epic film. It's got all kinds of stuff going on, and it's like Lord of the Rings in places, and it's this huge film. And you kind of go to The Last Temptation, and it didn't have a huge budget. I think it was like $8 million or something like that. And they've kind of embraced the grime of the time. And
you have the hut. I love the huts like caked in mud, like out in the dead. I love that stuff. Oh.
Yeah, and it's, and like I said, it's not a big epic film, and it doesn't feel like a particularly big film either.
No.
You don't, the frame that you see, there's not...
I feel like the story I'm being told is epic, but it's being shot in this really tight, up-close, personal manner.
Yeah, and it forces you... I mean, I always feel about kind of like slightly more intimate films like that. It's like where it forces you to focus on the story. You're not kind of distracted by the kind of the hugeness of it in a way, and it's a very talky film.
And I love I actually kind of do like just certain images in the movie, like just really resonate with me, like all the people sitting around that are just completely covered in cloth, like you can't even see their faces, sitting with the camels. It feels, it just feels very sparse, and it feels like, oh, this is like the ancient, primordial world.
No, it does. And I mean, there's no, when you kind of look into the horizon, you see mountains in the background and the sunset.
Yeah, they shot it in Morocco.
Yeah, that's what you're seeing. There isn't anything fake about it. And I always sort of say, when it comes to kind of like a lot of Hollywood films, one of the reasons why I don't get into them so much now, like Man of Steel, for example, which is a film, regardless of kind of the storyline and things like that, but I'm just
I actually quite liked Man of Steel.
Yeah, well, I mean, one of the things about it, it's just so fake to me that
it is quite fake. In every superhero movie now, you have to destroy a city at the end.
Yeah, I mean, well, Captain America, Winter Soldier. We can't just kind of have kind of a subtle kind of shootout ending. That would be just as good. We have to have spacecraft taking off and all kinds of nonsense. But what I do like about Last Temptation is that you feel like you're watching, for want of a better word, a real film that's taking place in a reality, as opposed to something that's kind of completely removed from that. And it's there in the kind of the art design. You look at the walls and they're kind of adorned with kind of paintings, and you look at kind of the rugs and things like that, and they kind of patterns and things like that. And it's a lot of work. A lot has gone into making this film look as normal as it can be, and that's something I do like about it, because
it kind of makes the movie crazy too when it kind of goes into this, like, there are moments where, and they said that this is what they were going for, that it feels like a Hammer film almost, like when Jesus says he comes with an axe and he takes his heart out of his chest.
Yeah, but that's that bit. I mean, that was the David Cronenberg.
But they said they were going with the Lazarus resurrection scene. They were going for a Hammer movie feeling, and you definitely get that with the zombie hand popping out.
Well, this is. I mean, like, a kind of brief interlude there, but I mean, that's one of the reasons why I find if that's what they were actually going for, I think that's a really poor decision, because I'm sort of sat there thinking he's just woken up a zombie. That's only going to end.
It's supposed to be Jesus being confronted with death and knowing that that's where he's headed ultimately. Ultimately, the movie doesn't deal with the resurrection and stuff like that. It's a movie about the last temptation of Christ.
Yeah.
And so it's not really dealing with that part of it. But Jesus is, looking into the abyss of death that he is going towards. And that's why it's kind of that moment when the hand pops out is a scary moment. But then it becomes this miracle as the bandages are stripped away and Lazarus alive, only to be killed by Saul later, a.k.a. St. Paul.
But it's like he's got green hands and sort of like dead skin and nails and stuff.
Yeah,
and again,
then,
I'm watching,
and then he looks like a live person when he goes.
Yeah, and I'm watching that, just thinking, come on, this is just kind of completely kind of taking out. But kind of the stuff with Mary Magdalene as well. I've got it on now. Her hair is just it's ridiculous. She doesn't look. It's a Hollywood prostitute. It's like Pretty Woman. It's not kind of. I don't know what I'm expecting, but she's like something out of a Dynasty or Dallas or something like that. And this is what I find about this film, is that for all the kind of the goodness that kind of the look of it and stuff like that, sometimes it just completely jars me. And I've become consciously aware where I can hear the lines of dialogue, and I'm completely taken out of it. And it's something I found with Captain Phillips, and I spoke about it on a couple of times now before. But when I was watching that film, I was like, that's not a character, that's not a person, that's Tom Hanks playing Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
Tom
Hanks does now.
In every Tom Hanks film, all Tom Hanks wants to do is get back.
Yeah,
doesn't he? Yeah, that's all he wants to do. And I'm watching this film, I'm thinking, fuck it, it's Tom Hanks, isn't the thing. And it completely ruined it for me. And what I find with The Last Temptation, I'm just looking at him, and I keep expecting Jesus to say Barnes and start, like having a go at bloody Tom Berenger or something like that. And I find it that jarring. And again, I sort of take Scorsese to task in this, because I don't know why you sort of say that that's the look he's going for, but I don't know why he's trying to do that. I can't think really why anyone would want their film to feel this artificial. It just seems a very strange way of making a film to me.
But yeah, it is a strange, but I don't know. I wasn't taken out of it by that, so I don't know. It's just a different reaction, I suppose.
Yeah, but this is it. Because this is the other thing I was going to say. When I watched The Passion of Christ, with a group of evangelical Christians.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and it was an interesting experience. Again, I don't want to mock people for their beliefs.
No, I don't either. I kind of give the evangelicals some shit, but
Yeah, but I will mock someone that runs the entire length of the cinema, collapses on their knees, and then starts speaking in tongues at the screen. I will mock that because it's funny and it's ridiculous. But it became apparent to me as I was watching the film that they literally believed they were looking at Jesus. And if you listen to the commentary on the disc of The Passion of the Christ, it's got kind of like these theologians on it and Mel Gibson and some things. And they are literally talking about the fact that they've actually made Jesus, that's actually him there on screen. And what I can't do with the Last Temptation of the Christ, I never get over the fact that I'm looking at Jesus. I'm looking at an actor.
You're looking at Willem Dafoe.
That's it, yeah. And that's the reason why this film just doesn't connect with me on that level when I feel it should. And in a way, the concept is so good to kind of humanise Jesus like this, because I don't understand really. I don't see what the sacrifice in Jesus. I don't see why it should be so important. I know he kind of died for our sins and all that kind of thing, but it's something that doesn't resonate with me. One, because I don't believe it, but two, because I sort of think to myself, well, his idea of sin is different to mine and that kind of thing. And as I'm watching that, and it's one of the things, I think I wanted The Last Temptation of Christ to move me, and I think I wanted it to change my perspective. And when I went into it, that didn't happen. And not saying it wanted to make a believer of me, but I wanted to understand why Jesus was so important, and it is such a kind of why this kind of moment is so important to so many people. And I think I was disappointed because I didn't get that from the film, and I do blame Scorsese for that, in his direction especially, and the line delivery and the kind of the performance that he's getting. I can't believe that he can think that was good. at the time. I just can't see how that he can kind of come to that conclusion. That, you know, look at kind of some of the Defoe, the lines, and his performance is all over the place. One minute he's kind of smiling happily, and the next he's kind of got this kind of "I'm going to kill you" look on his face, and it's just tonally all over the place.
For me, it works because it just seems like, you know, affliction almost.
Yeah, I mean that's it. I mean, as I said, for a film about someone who's suffering from mental health issues, this is really good.
I'm not endorsing that, but
no, that's how I look at it. It's like Take Shelter. Yeah,
Take Shelter, sure. Yeah.
Yeah, if you kind of like remove that ending, which I won't ruin, but if you remove that ending, that's a pretty good film about someone who's suffering from, who's got mental health issues. And Jesus in this, it's like, you know, it's William Dafoe's face sometimes, he just looks like he's like, is this good, Marty? Well, yeah. Well, you do what you want. You know, it's that kind of thing. I don't see the performance.
I almost feel like, you know, that might be, and I'm not making excuses for it. But that might be because the movie was pretty low budget.
Yeah.
And Scorsese was talking about how many sit-ups a day they were doing and how they had like 10, 15 minutes for each shot in certain scenes. So it almost felt like, to me, that might be some of the performances might be lacking because they really didn't have a lot of time on the set to, you know, flesh it out. Like, it wasn't like when he made King of Comedy and he was doing 3 setups a day.
Yeah.
You know, he said he went from doing 3 setups a day on King of Comedy to doing 24 on After Hours. This one he was doing like 15, which is still that's a pretty intense pace. And, you know, so I mean, that I'm not saying like, you know, so you should accept it because of the circumstances. But I'm saying that's probably why the performances are, and because I don't think the performances are all that great. Harry Dean Stanton as St. Paul is bizarre. But it's almost the weirdness. So it almost gave it this weird edge to me that just I find interesting. Anyway, sorry.
No, I mean this is it. I mean this is when I suppose we kind of get into the Scorsese past territory, because any other director, and you know, you would be going, you would tear this. If this film was made by some no name, we would absolutely destroy it.
I wouldn't. I wouldn't, but. I'm sure people would. I don't even think this movie gets a lot of talk among Scorsese fans. You know,
I think
my friends who are all Scorsese nuts never uttered a word about it. They were all into his gangster movies.
No, I think that's to do with the subject matter, and I think a lot of people aren't comfortable with the subject matter because it's a religious film.
Well, and plus a lot of people, like, when I told my dad I was like seeing Last Temptation of Christ, he goes, that you shouldn't watch that. That's about Jesus' love affair. Like, you know, he heard that from someone.
Yeah.
You know? So, like, a lot of people have, like, sort of notions that the movie's about Jesus, you know, his relation. I'm like, no, it's a vision that Satan shows him of, and it's a desirable one. You know, having the love of a woman, having a family.
Oh yeah. And
these are you know, it's not as though in the movie Jesus is, you know, crushing, you know, women. You know?
Yeah. No. I mean, this is it. I mean, I think that one of the perhaps, you know, why this isn't, you know, one of the Scorsese things. I mean, we will talk about the soundtrack because I think that's one thing we will agree quite heavily on. But one of the things I think about this film, it hasn't got that tracking shot in it. It hasn't got that hilarious scene with Joe Pesci, you know, looking through binoculars at the cops and all that kind of thing. It doesn't have those Scorsese moments that we all love. And you know, there is one shot which I'll get to in a bit, which I think is pretty jaw-dropping, but it doesn't have the kind of the fashionable Scorsese stuff.
Well, and it was funny. He was talking about how this movie, it's not really, the story's not that different from a Raging Bull, but because the religion, like he said, you know, the religion gets in the way, sort of. In terms of like the way people perceive the movie.
No, certainly, and it's one of those. But I mean, I you know, as I said, when I talk about kind of that I'm so eager to watch, you know, films about Bible stories, and you know, I couldn't wait to see Noah. People are like, yeah, but you're an atheist. I'm like, yeah, but that doesn't matter. It doesn't, you know, a good film's a good film.
I think an intelligent, you know, I don't. Well, we already talked about that. Anyways. Sorry,
no, where was it? No, yeah, you kind of like when we go through kind of the Scorsese things. I mean, you know, Martin Scorsese is one of my favourite directors. There's no getting away from that. And as we sort of said, like I think certain directors have a pass kind of system going where you go, oh well, because it's them, we'll try and look at it and see much. But I just look at the sort of you touched on it saying that the fact that this was quite low budget, but just the sort of the I think it's a very bland film to watch. And I mean,
you see, I don't find it bland at all. I don't know. This is just, I guess, us looking at it differently. I don't know, but I think it's so rich to watch. Just on a visual level. Like I was watching the commentary track, and I just like looking at it. I just like staring at the movie. Like,
I don't. I mean, a lot of it. I mean, it's a very talky film. There's no debate.
It is a very talky film,
and it's very hard to do. To make two people talking all that interesting. I mean, somehow, we've watched the Star Wars prequels. I mean, no one does a boring conversation like George Lucas.
George Lucas is terrible at dialogue. Like our good friend Harrison Ford said, you can read this, George, but you can't say it.
Yeah, but I mean, if you watch how bland those scenes are in those prequels, and I was consciously aware of the fact when I was watching this film, just like shot, reverse shot, shot, reverse shot, shot, reverse shot. And after a while, I was just sort of like, give me something a little bit more to kind of, go into. And when the performances are so stilted, you can actually sort of, it feels like a film that hasn't been rehearsed in many ways. And like,
you're talking about Last Temptation.
Yeah. It just feels like kind of like these people are turned up with not really that much idea about what they're meant to do with the characters, and you can tell like Harvey Keitel doesn't know what to do with himself during this film. A lot of the times his hands are just kind of by his side. He doesn't seem to kind of
a lot of times he's kind of, I think he's using a cane, walking stick, and that's probably something to do with his hands.
Yeah, he just doesn't see. He's like he's bored almost. He's like kind of like, well, what am I doing here? And it seems one of these where you can imagine the actors, the agents were on the phone like saying, "Do you want to play Jesus, Willem?" It's like, what actor isn't?
Well, that's we were talking about Judas. Getting back to religious aspects of the movie, something that I find very problematic is the idea that Judas is this tragic figure who's part of the grand divine plan and is therefore a holy character.
Yeah, I mean,
Judas betrayed Jesus for money. Just because he had to do that for this to happen, his intentions were, I got to get paid. Now he did eventually. He did. He went out into the desert and committed suicide when he realized what he had done. But that's one thing I'm not really a fan of about the story overall. Is the Judas character being this kind of righteous character.
Well, this is one of the things. Going kind of veering into the kind of the realms of religion now. But without Judas, there is no.
I know, but I'm saying though, like you have to speak that's true. But speaking purely like Judas as a person, his intentions behind what he did were not to get Jesus on the cross, not to get Jesus on the cross so it will be fulfilled. In the Bible, he specifically betrays him for money, and so Judas as a person. Yes, like what he did had to happen, but I don't think Judas was this great person that is this holy figure. You know what I'm saying?
Does that not make him? I mean, like you can say like he's not a great person, obviously, but no Judas, no Christianity. There is no
true.
So it's the way. But the way I kind of look at it is like he's like a plot device, isn't he? Really?
Exactly.
In terms of Jesus' story,
he's there to get him on the cross.
He's a necessary plot device, but
he is a plot device.
So that's always one of the things I struggle with the story of Jesus, when you kind of like look into kind of the technicalities, I suppose is kind of for want of a better word for it. But it's like Judas is this kind of like vilified figure, yet someone had to do what he did in order for this thing to happen. So in that way, and then if you kind of go against kind of the fact that it's all part of a plan and predetermination.
I don't know what the church's teaching is on predetermination. I don't think I'm not going to say for certain what the Catholic Church thinks, because I think predetermination is kind of I think that's a Protestant thing, but I'll have to look on that. But as far as because I know the church talks more about free will and things of that nature. So I think that would be. I'll have to ask my priest about it because he's a lawyer of the catechism. He's a human encyclopedia on these things. So I don't know exactly what their church. So like if you were to say predetermination, I'd be like, well, I don't think we believe in that.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, it's one of these kind of like it's one of these kind of like atheist type kind of debate things that people have. Sure. It's like it's like if there's a God, then why was there the Holocaust? These types of kind of conversations.
Why do bad things happen to good people?
Yeah, exactly.
But that's what Malik's Tree of Life is about, really.
Well, yeah, I mean, essentially, but I mean, I've always found like Judas gets a bit of a bad press, really.
Yeah. Oh, sure, and I know that's something you always hear about. Well, like Judas, this had to happen, and he's probably getting a bad rap. But I've kind of thought about that, and I was thinking, well, if his intentions behind it were to get rich, not to. I'm kind of thinking about his intentions as a person, and according to what we know in the Bible, they were not good and well-intentioned.
And what happens in the Last Temptation of Christ is, I think that they kind of go down the route that my kind of chain of thought a little bit, which is like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think kind of like Jesus is actually kind of like endorsing him to do it, isn't he?
Jesus basically tells him, this has to happen.
Yeah, and he's like Judas is the one trying to talk him out of it. Now, I mean, it's an interesting kind of spin on the story.
It is an interesting spin. I'm not saying it doesn't have merit to explore.
Yeah, but to me, that is
just
more
remember
logical.
What I would tell to people is that it's not gospel, but it's an interesting thing to explore artistically.
Yeah, and to me, it makes more sense to me than what's in the Bible. And that's one of the things. I mean, that would kind of. I'm just thinking, like, from a storytelling perspective.
Sure.
I think it's a poor piece of storytelling in the Bible. That's the way it goes, and I think
how dare you?
Would it more when it's this way, you sort of think, that makes more sense to me logically than it would do. He's kind of doing it for money. It's happening because without him, there is no. Jesus isn't going to go on the cross, is he? That's the type of thing. But I can see why. I mean, like, if you are kind of the Gospels and stuff like this portrayal of Judas it's pretty strange. It has to be said, isn't it?
Yeah, it's another thing about the movie that's kind of scandalous is that Judas almost seems like a better person than Jesus in many ways.
Well, no, there's this brilliant bit where he's chatting to Jesus and he's with the disciples. And he's like saying things like, if I don't like someone, I smash their heads in and all this kind of thing. And he's like saying it like kind of like, and it's like gangster Judas again.
Yeah.
I'm back to Mean Street. It's that kind of thing. And again, that's these kind of tonal shifts where it's this kind of like really kind of conversational dialogue. And you're sort of thinking, well, this is a film about Jesus. This is.
Again, that's the thing that they said they were trying to put in there was conversational dialogue as opposed to the sort of, poetic dialogue that you would normally hear in a movie like this.
And the BBC, like you say, like kind of where everyone talks in this incredibly solemn and kind of deeply serious way, and it does eschew that. But
I have heard that Herod seeks the head of John the Baptist.
Well, it's like that. I mean, that was kind of the style of the time. But I mean,
sure.
I think.
Oh no, of course it was a style at the time. It's just they were trying to go for a different style that would engage the audience, but it probably alienated a lot of the audience, like yourself.
Yeah, and I mean, as this kind of comes to thing. I mean, when you watch this film, I mean, do you think it kind of like, do you feel like watching it, you kind of understand Jesus more?
I think I identify with him. When I watch the movie, I sort of identify seeing the human struggle. I almost see it as like a depiction of Jesus. The quote Kazantzakis, or I'm probably saying his name completely wrong.
Yeah,
the author of the book had about the clash of the human and the divine. I think it's a very interesting theme that they explore with Jesus. But at the same time, I don't see Willem Dafoe's depiction of Jesus as a proper depiction of Jesus. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I would consider... I thought the guy who played him in Gospel According to Matthew was better. I thought Jim Caviezel was better.
I mean, I think it's a good time to talk about the Passion of the Christ in terms of relating it to this film. because I mean that's one that goes for ultra realism.
Oh, it's very it's funny. Last Temptation of Christ seeks out to show you the reality of, it's kind of showing Jesus being tempted, which is very. You read about it in the Bible, it's one thing. You see it, it's completely different. It's kind of uncomfortable because you can see that it bothers Jesus and that Jesus is disturbed and possibly wants to give in, but he doesn't. And that's a tough thing to watch. Mel Gibson is going for, seeing Jesus crucified in art is one thing, and here's a crucifixion. I'm going to show you all the bloody, gory details of what Jesus went through. It's very, it's a very Catholic movie. The suffering, all of that.
Yeah, I mean, because people say, "Oh, it's like it's like torture porn," and I'm like, I think that's the point.
But I don't like the term torture porn. Because that almost implies that it's like a sadistic.
Yeah. I mean, it's
not that at all. I don't think.
No, I mean, it certainly doesn't torture. Yeah, I know what you're saying. I mean, like gratuitously violent. I mean, I think the thing about
when I hear torture porn, it's like I'm not beating off to this.
Yeah, no, it's not. Yeah, you think, but no, when I'm watching like The Passion of Christ, I mean, I would a stretch say that I believed that there might have been someone who was like Jesus, who, and the simple fact of the matter is we know the Romans did actually kind of, mutilate and kill a lot of people based on their religious beliefs. And I mean,
and Pontius Pilate was a real person, we discovered. And Jesus is mentioned a lot in Roman history books, or he's mentioned a few times, not a lot.
I don't think he's ever mentioned as by name. I think it's mentioned in I think from my recollection, it's a lot more kind of vague that. But I mean, I certainly felt, I mean, I didn't like the Passion of the Christ, but I think in terms of kind of showing barbarity, it certainly hit that. It truly does. But it's a strange one because I mean, this is a kind of question I was going to pose to you. Really. Do you think it's even right that people make films about Jesus?
Gosh, I think it's okay. I think it's all right because Catholics have done paintings and art and like a lot of the great art from the Renaissance is about Jesus and about depicting things from the Bible, and so I think it's okay to do movies about it as well. I don't have a problem with it. I know some religions, like Muslims, for example, like the fact that somebody made a movie about that Mustafa Akkad made The Message or whatever the Muslim movie was, that was like, holy shit, you can't do that.
Yeah.
Like that their religion strictly forbids it. So that's like a much more scandalous thing. But depicting Jesus in artwork, there are some Christians who think it's wrong, some subsects of Christianity, but being a Catholic, being that the art that the Bible has inspired has been so important to Western civilization. I think making movies about Jesus is just fine.
Yeah, I mean because we can talk about the controversy surrounding this film because I mean it pissed I wouldn't say it pissed a lot of people off. It pissed a lot of very loud people off.
Yes, that's the state of the world today. Is if you can get a minority to kick and scream enough, it seems like a ton of people.
Yeah, and I mean, I think I was only 8 when this film came out, but I remember seeing
when The Passion came out.
Oh, The Last Temptation of Christ.
Oh, Last Temptation of Christ. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I remember.
Oh, I thought we were talking about The Passion.
No. But I mean, I remember sort of like the controversy surrounding this film.
Yeah. Oh, this movie. It's still controversial today. You bring it up, and people, are like, oh.
But I mean, why though? I mean, it goes back to that opening kind of scroll that says this is not gospel. It's not.
I know.
Saying.
I don't think people understood that though. I think they heard from a bunch of an attention-seeking minority fed a lot of false information about the movie. Yes, there is a sex scene between Jesus and Mary Magdalene, but Jesus is not actually having sex with Mary Magdalene. It's a vision imposed upon him by Satan, and it's not even a hot scene. It's just like them making out, in the shadows, and that's it. But it's not like my dad thought it was about Jesus' love affair, So like there was, before the movie came out, people were saying things about it that just weren't true, and so that stuff catches on because the news reports it, because we all know how accurate the news is.
No, I mean I think honestly.
And but even Franco Zeffirelli, the guy who did Jesus of Nazareth, famous filmmaker and a Catholic, he pulled his movie out of the Venice Film Festival because because Last Temptation was screening.
Right.
There, so it was a lightning rod for sure.
Yeah, and it's strange to me because obviously kind of Martin Scorsese. I mean, he said it hasn't he, that if he didn't go into making films, he would have become a Catholic priest.
Yeah, he said where he grew up, you either became a gangster or a priest.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it's interesting that someone who obviously who could potentially be one of the people offended by at least kind of feign offence at this film would want to make it in the first place.
And the book was controversial too. The author was excommunicated by the Greek Orthodox Church.
Shit. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, that someone can feel compelled to make something that's going to kind of potentially annoy so many people. But I mean, is Last Temptation a film that you as a Catholic would recommend to kind of fellow Catholics to watch?
I would recommend it, but I would say just remember when you're watching it, this is not the gospel. This is an exploration of sorts, and you may not like the way it makes you feel. You may not like what you see, but I wouldn't say it's a sin to watch it or something. Or a sin to feel something watching it, but just it's not canon. It's an artistic exploration of Jesus that I think is interesting. But and I know some Catholics who really love this movie. Yeah. They get a lot out of it, but and there are things that I will tell any Catholic there are things that you will have problems with in this movie. So there are things I have problems with in it. But it's a very different exploration of Jesus. But it's not the Gospels. Do not for one second think that this is a movie about the Gospels. It's not.
Yeah, I mean, I think I can. That's from an artistic point of view, I kind of salute anything that has the kind of the guts to do something slightly different. And especially as soon as you open the can of worms that is religion, you're in all kinds of trouble from the off.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and it's funny. People were scandalized by this movie for many different reasons. Superficially, the reason you will hear from the religious right in America was it's a movie about Jesus having sex or something, and it's a sexy film. That's what people that's a misconception people have. But superficially, the idea of Jesus having sex at all is upsetting to people, and then but under the skin, what would upset people is that Jesus comes off in a very religion, almost in a mad. He almost seems mad in the movie. You see him having doubts, outside of the Gethsemane garden sequence. You see him having, you see him preach, and he's not very good at it. You see him being tempted by the pleasures of the flesh. You see him doing something really terrible, making crosses for people to be crucified on.
Yeah, there's a certain irony. That's not.
I mean, that's something that's pretty terrible what he's doing, and people will also be scandalized by Judas being portrayed like this, sort of righteous character. That's going to be a problem for some people as well. So it's there are many reasons why one could be offended by this movie, but I think the sexual element was the most superficial and the biggest one.
Yeah, I mean, why? I mean, what is so shocking about that? I mean, because there's nothing in the Bible, is there? I mean, the Bible doesn't expressly say anyone has sex in it, really.
I mean, there are sexual references in the Bible. Sure.
Yeah, but I mean, why? Because there's a lot.
But in the Gospels, no. Not that I can recall, anyway. I mean, I don't remember where the bit comes. I don't remember where the Mary Magdalene was a prostitute comes from. I think that was something that was just implied in the Bible, but that people read into it.
Yeah, I mean, this is they've got the relationship with Mary Magdalene in this film, because again, it's a bit like the relationship in Blade Runner between Deckard and Rachel. Yeah. That's the most least convincing relationship ever put to film. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love Blade Runner. I do not for a
but
second.
One of them's a robot in Blade Runner, so you can kind of,
I just don't see what the attraction to each other is in that film. I don't see how they suddenly go from you're a robot and you're dying, I love you.
Yeah.
It just seems so like a thing. And in this as well, I mean, the relationship between, and this one,
it happens because the script says it should.
Yeah, and I
that's
don't
not
feel,
a good reason. No.
Yeah, I don't feel that bit when we kind of, and I know it's going to sound bang out of order now, but the bit where we see him kind of living his life with Mary Magdalene.
Well, it reminds me. They start out together and she dies. Like God kills her.
Yeah, well,
pretty much. In the vision, this is all the vision that Satan is bestowing upon Jesus. Satan appears as a very small angelic girl.
A child. Yeah,
and she's with Jesus the whole time.
Yeah, but I'm not seeing that. I don't kind of see the kind of the thing. And when I was watching it sort of reminded me of the opening of Commando. You know, when Arnold Schwarzenegger's like, it's like that kind
feeding
of.
A deer.
He's like giving that deer some food and stuff like that with his daughter, and they're kind of laughing at pictures. They're laughing at pictures of Boy George.
Tom, you just ruined that sequence for me forever.
No, but it kind of reminded me of that, and I'm sort of thinking, right, I'm taken straight out of this film, and I don't see where the temptation of being with Mary comes from. It's just like. It's just a few sequences almost to me. I don't sort of see
him having sex with her, and it's very brief, shadowy. It's really not. You're not seeing Jesus. It's not Game of Thrones sex.
No.
But and then you see him. Mary dies, but then you see him. He gets married. He has a large family. He gets old. You see St. Paul preaching, which is a very strange scene, and Jesus gets mad and tells him to go away.
I mean, we need to talk about Harry Dean Stanton as well.
Yeah.
I mean, in fact, we can go on a quick divergent now because
he actually there's a bit where he turns to Jesus and yells, "Avenge me!" No.
No. It's just I'm just sat there watching the cameos in this film, and I've got it on now, and we have to talk about David Bowie.
David Bowie as Pontius Pilate. Yeah, it was originally going to be played by Sting.
I mean, I know. I mean, oh God, I don't know which one would have been worse, to be honest with you, but I think Sting, because I detest him.
Sting,
so many ways.
Sting is insufferable.
Yeah, I mean, but I mean, Bowie kind of says that kind of quirky thing, but it's like I keep expecting him just to, suddenly doing the weird song out of Labyrinth or something, and that's another thing I don't understand.
See, I didn't even think he looked like Bowie that much,
no,
like his hair and everything.
He looks about 10 years old. That's the weird thing, but it's like I'm sat there and I'm thinking, why is David Bowie in this film? And it might be to kind of get a few bums on seats. I don't know. It might deliberately have been
David Bowie fans are a pretty intense group of people.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like I'm sort of sat there thinking, well, why am I looking at David Bowie in this film? And I mean, the Harry Dean Stanton stuff, it's ridiculous. And obviously, kind of like he kind of we get Lazarus kind of coming back from dead, and then he just goes and bumps him off. Does that even happen in the Bible?
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, and I mean,
Saul isn't meant. I don't think he isn't in the Bible until the book of Acts, as far as I recall. I think I could be wrong, but Saint Paul was a persecutor of Christians.
Right.
He was not one of the original 12 disciples, but he I think he later when he had his conversion on the road to Damascus or whatever. I think that's when he became involved with the 12.
Right. No, but I mean, I'm just sort of watching it thinking that, oh God, there's Harry Dean Stanton, there's David Bowie. And
that's the thing is the actors do get in the way in this movie because
exactly,
they are all people we associate with a certain time in American cinema and with this thing. And so when you're seeing them play these characters that are thousands of years old and have been gone through so much, so many interpretations and adaptations over the years. When you see them in the roles, you're just seeing these actors, really. That's why Pasolini's film works so well, is that we don't know who any of these greasy Italians are,
No, well, that's it. You can watch it kind of devoid of that kind of baggage. And I mean, I suppose kind of to move on to things that I do like about this film. I mean, there's that bit where Jesus. I like the crosses.
Oh yeah, they actually.
They look like they're fucking
they
painful.
Them was more historically accurate, from what I understand.
Well, Well, I mean, this I would say it looks horrifically painful. What's happening to them?
Oh, but Defoe talked about shooting that scene, and he said he could only be up there for 10 minutes at a time. He said it was horrible.
Yeah, and let's be honest. Crucifixion is the most horrific way of killing someone I can possibly imagine.
Oh, I know, and he said it was really horrible for him because he's basically up there naked for the world to see in front of the entire crew in this insanely uncomfortable pose.
Yeah,
and he said it was just like it was really bizarre, and he did not like it at all.
Well, I mean, you see the guys next to him as well, and they're on trees.
On trees. Yeah, it reminded me of in Conan the Barbarian when Conan's crucified.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was gonna bring up Conan actually because that's the one thing I didn't keep expecting. The cameos were getting so ridiculous.
A vulture would fly down and perch on one of their shoulders.
We've got Harry Dean Stanton, we've got the opening of Commando, and I was thinking, why not have, just a little cameo of Arnold just going past asking for Crom or something like that. But I mean, there's that scene where
Crom laughs at your 4 wins.
But there's that shot that Scorsese does where the camera's attached to the back of the cross as it rises up.
Yes, I know exactly the shot you're talking about.
Sorry?
I said I know. Yes, I know exactly.
Yeah, and that is breathtaking stuff to me because that that is just horrendous, and that's Scorsese at his best. And I think it's one of the few times in this film where I think I see Scorsese the director, as opposed because I mean this film reminds me a little bit like. It's like a Hallmark Channel film, and it's like the creative director's Paul Verhoeven. That's how I feel about this film. It's got this kind of like...
There's a guy who's trying to get a Jesus movie off the ground, Paul Verhoeven.
Oh, please, God, yeah, come on, please. But I mean, it's so bland to look at, I think, a lot of the time. Well, I think it's quite bland to look at. I mean, I'm looking at the Commando scene now. And he's actually got monkeys running around and, this kind of stuff. But it looks so...
I don't know, man. I love the look of this movie. I love the sets. I love the design of it. I especially like when we have the vast open rocky deserts and.
Oh yeah, you can't deny that. You can't kind of mock reality, as it were. But I mean, I think it's just because, again, I think it might come as a kind of a hangover. If I'm going to watch a film about Jesus, I want big Cecil B. DeMille Jesus. And when you sort of see it slightly more kind of like a bit more kind of down earthy, I suppose would be the word. It can be a little bit jarring, but I guess it's each their own. I mean, like I said, you can't argue with some of the.
I will say that some of the landscapes in the temptation part with the kid, they are a little
Yeah, Commando.
I will give you that. That's not the film's finest moments, right there.
No, and I mean, when it reminds me that kind of whole bit where he's kind of like living his life. It's like an episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation. The one where where Picard lives that life for 70 years. It kind of reminded me a little bit of that, and you kind of see the makeup isn't great with kind of Defoe getting older and older and stuff like that. But I think one of the biggest plus points about this film has to be the Peter Gabriel score.
It's fantastic. I own it. It's great.
I mean, it is unbelievable how good this score is.
My favorite bits, I love it when on Palm Sunday, Jesus going into the town before he starts smashing everything. You have that Peter Gabriel drums, and it's taken straight out of Rhythm of the Heat almost.
Yeah, and it sounds like, I mean, I'm quite into kind of kind of electronic music and stuff like that. And there was a kind of a movement a few years ago. It's kind of like tribal techno kind of thing,
right?
And
a lot of electronica fans who are fans of Paul Simon got together.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can you go into that bit where it's kind of like John the Baptist and that kind of thing. You'd hear that in nightclubs banging out at the weekend. You know what I mean? Yeah. It was that kind of thumping stuff. And
the John the Baptist scene is crazy.
Yeah, it's not the best John the Baptist scene is in The Greatest Story Ever Told, where Charlton Heston and he literally he's like, I don't give a shit who you are, you're getting baptized. He's got Romans, he's dunking anyone he can get his hands on, and he's my favourite ever kind of screen depiction of John the Baptist. I actually thought it was Scott Glenn actually when I was watching it.
Yeah, I did too.
And I was like, I thought, oh shit, it's Scott Glenn in one of those kind of roles where he must have realised he wasn't going to be a leading man.
And they said they were going for kind of the revivalist preacher, with where the ecstasy goes into kind of a crazy. You have naked women swaying their hair and in the creek. It's almost like there's this ecstasy going on that's like just insane. It's great.
Yeah, it's like that awful scene in The Matrix Reloaded, where they'll start dancing and
it's not that bad.
Yeah, the most pointless dance scene.
Oh, that was the worst. I had successfully forgotten about that, and now you have reminded me of it.
I was just like, yeah, hang on a minute, we're about to be wiped out. Let's have a rave. Yeah, quick, put some tunes on. That'll make us feel better.
And no, I mean Steve Aoki, everybody.
Oh god, that was a quick Steve Aoki tangent. One of the DJs I work for described him as a pretty something beginning with a C, I think the word was, on Friday, in a Facebook spat between them. And
really?
He's just the most. Steve Aoki is just. He just needs to fuck off. He's the Justin Bieber of dance music. That guy.
You know who his dad is?
No, don't.
Have you seen Wolf of Wall Street?
No.
One of the guys involved in the giant scandal was the owner of Benihana, who is Steve Aoki's father.
So basically, he was from a rich family anyway.
Yes. Oh my gosh! And his half sister is Devin Aoki from like movies like Sin City.
Oh god,
she was the Asian assassin woman.
Oh, he's just the worst. He's just the worst.
Yeah,
the worst person ever.
The worst person.
No, he is, and he's always throwing cake into his.
I know. He's always throwing cake, and
he just needs to slip.
It's not my jam.
No, I know. I'm very passionate about dance music, and Steve
I'm more of a metalhead myself.
Yeah, I've noticed. You're more of kind of the heathen sort of.
I know, it's kind of funny. I listen to a lot of heavy, crazy music, but I'm also Catholic. It's kind of weird. But.
Yeah, you need something to be guilty over anyway, don't you? So that's kind of, that's like currency for you guys, isn't it? You know what I mean? So it's like Steve Aoki's the fucking devil incarnate, but I could nail him to a cross. I know it's a bit extreme, but I'd like to nail him to some decks actually, and then pin him down and make him listen to some proper dance music.
I know, right?
Oh fucking hell, I hate. No, but this Peter Gabriel score anyway. And that's one of the things as well, because I think it's quite a brave choice, Peter Gabriel, going for this, because you can go for the massive orchestral number, can't you?
Yeah.
And I think it's perfectly in keeping with filming, because even when you see miracles in this film, there's no kind of song and dance about them. Like when he turns water into wine, it's not like
It's actually the water into wine bit's very small. It's like Jesus winks, and
Yeah, I know, but he does have I do like that scene on the basis that it's kind of thing, but he does have a very smug look on his face afterwards, and it's like well done. He'd be a handy guy to have at a party.
Well, that's what they said they wanted. The kind of showed that Jesus was like this guy who drank alcohol and hung out with the poor elements of society and stuff, and they so like it was like, hey, Jesus is at a party. Oh, he's good. Yeah, we're almost out of wine. Boom.
Yeah. It's just sort of like when he does it as well. The camera kind of like tracks up to him, and he has this kind of like he nods at the camera. It's a bit Lando Calrissian.
Yeah, it is.
It's like that's for you guys.
Hey, that's who they should have cast as Jesus, Billy D. Williams.
Oh God. Yeah, I guess it's a worthwhile question, because who do you cast as Jesus? Which I would personally go down the unknown route, but
Kanye West. No.
Oh God. Now you'd probably be looking at I don't know, DiCaprio if it was going to make this.
Yeah. By the way, Tom, you got to see Wolf of Wall Street.
I know, I will do.
Oh.
It was one of those films. Unfortunately, work was too busy at the time, and it was one of those one where like the only screening I could really make were midweek ones at like 8:00, and I thought, Christ, it's a 3-hour film. It's like I just couldn't summon the energy to go, but I will get it. I noticed it was on.
It's been a while since I've really enjoyed myself at a Scorsese movie. Oh, Wolf of Wall Street! Wow.
Yeah.
It's
Is
like.
it, I guess it's the kind of going to Scorsese director. It's a Martin Scorsese film as we know it, not like this, I suppose.
Yes, it is. You're the Scorsese fan, and you will get a boner when you see it.
Yeah, no, it does look like. I like you can't beat tales of debauchery anyway, and especially when it's kind of rich people doing coke and whores and stuff like that.
It's like Goodfellas or anything where it's like it's a movie where men are behaving very, very badly.
Well, what came about? It's like, I think, didn't the guy who wrote the book said it was actually worse in real life?
It was, and Scorsese said they had to they shot some stuff that they cut out because they said they felt like the audience wouldn't buy it.
Yeah, which is a good sign.
Yeah, and that when you look up the stuff that happens in this movie, it's all true.
So you were saying?
I was just saying there's some shocking stuff in it, and you can't. You look it up, and it's just like, oh no, that happened, and it was worse.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's it's always interesting when the actual reality. It's like, have you seen the film Mayreen?
I'm sorry.
Mayreen. It's got was it Mesrine? I think it's got.
Mesrine with Vincent Cassel.
Yeah.
No, I haven't. I've heard it are great though.
Yeah, they had to kind of like. There's a bit where he goes to bust someone out of prison, and they were like, kind of actually in reality, he kind of like. He turned up at the prison armed and just burst his way in and just fought. Was it a prison in Canada or something like that? And in the film, they tried to make it out as a bit more sort of, like wasn't quite as epic as it was in real life. But in reality, it was like this one-man army. It was like, Rambo on a mission type thing was the reality. And they actually watered it down for the film. So like, there's no way anyone's ever going to buy that. And I kind of dig that. I kind of dig that type of thing. But kind of go back to The Last Temptation. I mean, I guess kind of wrapping up now, really. I mean, in terms of, do you kind of like this film? I mean, what's your kind of like, I guess, I mean, how much do you like it on the basis of kind of like for religious reasons? How much do you like it on the basis of you like it as a film?
Religious reasons, I think it's interesting religiously, but it's not going to inform any of my religious beliefs. It's not going to enrich my religious beliefs. Really, I like it as... I like the concepts and the ideas, but I like visually the exploration of the ancient world. I think it's compelling. And I think it's compelling as an exploration of Jesus, but it's not going to. And I think my religious beliefs inform my watching of it. It doesn't inform my religious beliefs. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I know what I mean. You go in it and sort of say, yeah, it's kind of like a spin. Really,
it's kind of a different take on the Jesus story. On the life of Jesus, but it's not. I'm not looking at it as something canon.
Yeah, you can kind of like take it on. You can kind of look at it and just say it is what it is.
Like the gospel according to Matthew. That's the gospel. Boom, right there.
Yeah. That's the kind. Yeah. No, it's I think it's a worthwhile point to make because I mean I think. I know some people who've had a really kind of violently awful reaction to this film, and like my kind of thing is I just think it's not a film that I have any kind of connection with. I don't feel like I don't watch it, and I don't sort of think that really kind of makes me feel like I know more about Jesus or understand his point of view at all. I don't get anything like that from it, and I mean I find, to be honest, I find the artifice of it is such that. I struggle to get over the fact that I never feel like I'm not watching just the film, and I think that's my problem with The Last Temptation of Christ.
That's totally a legit gripe. I can't fight you on that.
Yeah, and it's weird, isn't it? Because I say, when you watch a film, we all know we're watching a film, but when you feel like it's sort of constantly kind of just taking you out of it, and I mean, 2 hours 40 minutes, and if a film's good enough, I don't really care how long it is. But when both times I've tried watching this, that last, I mean, I would say actually, I think the first hour and 20 minutes are pretty awful. It starts off awful, and it gets a little bit better after that. I certainly think it has a distinct kind of half to it. But I mean, the last 40 minutes, I mean, each time I've watched it, I've just been like, come on, let's just get a move on you. Let's get to the end of it. And it's a tough one because I think, again, I think if this wasn't a Martin Scorsese film, I don't think it would get half the attention that it does. And we said about it, it doesn't seem to be kind of brought up in groups that much and kind of discussed overly. But I think it would be dismissed a lot more harshly if it were not for the fact it's a Martin Scorsese film.
Because, I mean, I tend to get lost, like Scorsese's best movies, I tend to get lost in them, I lose myself in them. Wolf of Wall Street, definitely, Goodfellas, Mean Streets. I haven't watched Raging Bull that much because it's kind of unpleasant to watch.
I've only watched, and this is what absolutely cuts me up. I've watched Raging Bull once.
I've seen it 1.5 times. The second time I turned it off because I had to go to bed, but I was enjoying it.
It's a toughie to get through.
It's a tough movie to get through. It is so like, screaming and punching. It's just a rough movie. But King of Comedy is another one. I get lost in this movie's visual elements in terms of the design, the sets, but I don't think it's his best work in terms of acting, writing, and selling a story. It's a flawed film to be sure, but it's one that fascinates me. Just the look of it and some of the ideas and concepts, and I guess Scorsese's attempted approach, and which isn't altogether successful, but sometimes I don't know. Sometimes a failure in its flaws is interesting. I'm not saying it's like a great film. I really do like it, but I do acknowledge that it is a flawed film.
Yeah, my favorite film of last year was Cloud Atlas.
And I didn't like Cloud Atlas at all.
Yeah, and I know some people.
Actually, I did like some subplots in it, but overall, I didn't like it.
And it's one of the ones I like. One of the reasons why I like Cloud Atlas so much is because I just admire the kind of the fact that they're trying so hard to do something. It's a noble effort. And it sounds a bit patronising to say here's an A for effort, guys. Well done.
Exactly. But I mean, it's like this movie is one like. Last Temptation's a movie that was very personal that Scorsese wanted to make since the beginning of his career,
Yeah.
And so I can see that there is a passion behind Scorsese's making it. But, so the passion projects aren't always the most successful ones. Like, like Cloud Atlas, obviously, that's one that was very important to the Wachowski
siblings.
Just the pregnant pause for humor. I forgot they're not brothers anymore.
Yeah, it's always a tough one, isn't it? Now when they actually go like they go and it's like Lana, and it's like I know something. I actually riled that someone they called her it, and I was like, no, let's be a little bit more respectful. But it was when we used to say that it was the Wachowski brothers, it was just a lot easier, wasn't it? Now it's just the Wachowskis.
Yeah,
it's like thing. But no, I don't want to patronise Last Temptation. Say, here's an A for effort, guys. But it does aspire to do something different. Like we said, it isn't the big budget Cecil B. DeMille. It isn't the kind of everyone talking in these kind of stupid, pompous voices. It does try to do something different. To me, it didn't work, and I guess it's really hard when you don't like a film to kind of, I guess, really kind of be that succinct as to why it is. But I mean, for me, I can't see of another reason where I'd ever want to watch this film again.
Right.
I can't think of another reason why, unless I was going to kind of ask to go and do another episode on kind of religious films. I might go back to then. I might change. I might become a Christian one day and suddenly go back to this. I doubt it very much. I can't see it happening anytime soon. But it's
we'll see when you get cancer, Tom.
Yeah. Well, I'm like, jeez. I'm like, come on, watch The Last Temptation. Yeah. I mean, that's it, isn't it? I mean, as a Scorsese fan, if I was going to do some retrospective, perhaps I might kind of go back and do it. But
sure.
I really, I think I'm quite happy now to kind of leave The Last Temptation of Christ alone. I don't think this was going to be...
put it to bed.
It's, I think me and it are done, to be brutally honest with you.
Gather dust on your shelf.
All three versions of it.
You still have the other two?
Oh, God, yes. Oh, no, I can't get rid of my, I couldn't get rid of my Blu-ray of it. I don't know. I might give. Would I want to give this film to someone? I don't even know if I could do that to them. To be honest with you, I don't know.
You need the Blu-ray for your shelf to round out your Criterion collection.
Precisely, that's its purpose.
It's there to fill a hole now.
Exactly.
It's a placeholder.
No, that's it. Is there anything else you'd like to add on it?
I come back to this movie once every 1 or 2 years now. I guess that just because before you said before we decided, okay, let's hammer out a time and do this, I pulled it out to watch it again, So, but I don't think I have anything else I'd like to add. I think I've said my piece on it.
Yeah, I would say as well, if you are going to pick this up, don't pick up, I'd get the Criterion one. It was brought out on Region B as well on Blu-ray, and the picture isn't as good as it is on Criterion. And I did that because I actually rented the Region B one and compared the two, and it's a pretty damn good transfer for such a kind of a gritty looking film. But where I think it comes alive on the Blu-ray is the soundtrack. It's got a DTS HD soundtrack on it, and when you've got that Peter Gabriel banging and a decent sound system, it really kind of gives it. It really comes alive audibly, and I think that's well worth just. In fact, buy it if you like Peter Gabriel.
Yeah, if you're a Peter Gabriel fan, you have to see it.
Yeah, and it works. But it's like if you like Daft Punk, watch Tron Legacy.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? It's a great music video.
I mean, but I will say though, if you want to see a great movie about the life of Christ, watch Pasolini's Gospel According to Matthew.
That we can agree on, because I mean, we will get to that. I mean, we'll probably I'll discuss it with Joachim, but I think definitely it'd be well worth coming on to talk about that on the Masters
sure, I'd love to, because I got if you have an all-region player, that Masters of Cinema Blu-ray is choice, because there's really not a good Region A release of it yet that I'm aware of.
No, I mean, I can completely.
There was one DVD I had that was okay, that had like a little featurette about Pasolini that was from like back in the day, like a vintage little documentary on him, but the picture wasn't very good. There was another one that in Region 1, Region A, that's it has the original cut as a bonus feature, and it has a cut down colorized version for the main version, and the cover and all. It's very much marketed towards the fundamentalist Christian crowd, the mega church crowd.
Oh no!
I'm sure it cuts out the long sermons that Jesus gives in the movie.
Yeah, and it says things like, when he's up across it says things like, support your local armaments company and invest in Lockheed Martin, and healthcare is wrong. It probably says all those kind of things come up. Obama's a Muslim. I'm sure it's all. Yeah, I'm sure it's all that. I know the. I was actually. It's quite interesting. Actually, I was listening to a podcast the other day about the mega churches and all that kind of thing, and how like the number one joke is talking about how Obama's a Muslim. And I thought, God, they must be the most unfunniest people on planet Earth.
The thing is, I don't want to sound like I completely hate fundamentalist Christians, because but I mean they are, but some of them. The thing about fundamentalism is that it does not. The problem is, and St. Augustine even talked about this, is that reading the Bible on a fundamentalist level robs it of its poetry and meaning and malleability and malleability, like its ability to stay relevant with the time, and I think that unwillingness to explore the Bible on a more poetic level, I think, the way the sort of the Catholic Church has, and that has led to so much writing and philosophy and art and stuff. With the fundamentalist crowd, you don't see a lot of art that is like, look at a movie like Fireproof. Did you see Fireproof with James Cameron? No. I mean, with Kirk Cameron.
Oh no! I mean, I've heard of this. Of this, and I am kind of quite keen to see it.
Yeah, I would recommend it to you, because I know you'd get a certain pleasure out of it. But and I don't want to rag on this movie too much, because their hearts are in the right place, and they're trying to make to make a meaningful film. But it's very on the nose, on the surface. There's nowhere for your mind to. There's nowhere for you to read or think about it. It's all like kind of spelled out and put out there for you. And I think that sort of way of reading the Bible and the way of interpreting everything is, I think it sort of leads to a line of thinking that, leads to lame jokes and sort of lame art. Like you look at, productions of anything from the fundamentalist crowd, they're very artless. They're very, and again, I'm sure I have plenty of friends who are fundamentalist Christians, and I wish them well. But this is just my observations. I hope Andy Sims doesn't hear this, because he's going to call me and yell at me.
Oh dear. No, I mean, it's a foreign world. I mean, unfortunately, we only see it in Britain. We kind of we only see that the awful stuff, really. I mean, I'm sure, it's kind of like sort of shown as, it's basically mocked. Basically.
Well, I talked to one of my friends, one of my Catholic convert friends, and he's one of the smartest guys I know. He's really intelligent, well-spoken guy. and also rides a motorcycle and loves drinking. But
yeah.
But he said, like, I was talking to him about some of the, like, I was trying to maybe set up a screening. I want to try to set up a screening of, like, Gospel According to St. Matthew or Flowers of St. Francis. Like, set up a screening and, like, try to promote it to a Catholic crowd, because, like, I think that some of the great bits of Catholic art, like, are kind of, a lot of Catholics aren't aware of them. And he said, yeah, you know, like, we Catholics, we used to have the best stuff, you know, like, in terms of art.
Stuff.
We used to have the best art, the best writers, the best minds, you know, best philosophers, and, you know, and we had some of the best movies too, but they've kind of been forgotten, you know, and but today's Catholics don't even realize they exist. And so I wanted to try to set up, like, a screening for that. But you know, but it just seems like that when you kind of take away the poetry and philosophy, you just kind of have this sort of superficial thing.
Well, you have dial 1-800.
Yeah,
pray.
You have to mail your life savings to, you know, the guy on the TV. But you know, anyway, I don't want to be too mean, too hard on the fundamentalist guy. I don't want to seem like I'm trying to be smug or better than them. But
no. But I mean,
that's why I'm Catholic and I'm not, you know, something else. Personally, that's something conclusions I've come to.
No, but I think we can kind of both agree that, you know, I like we said, I still think there's a lot of, I personally hope we get a lot more religious films based on Bible stories. And
I do too.
Like
I hope. I was kind of, even though, like, I don't know, I need to see Noah, you know, and I know it's ruffled a few feathers, but I hope it does well so we get more Bible movies.
Brilliant review of it is is it Ken Ham? That guy.
Who's he write for?
No, he's like that fundamentalist creationist guy.
Is he the guy who was debating with Bill Nye or whatever?
Yeah. Go and watch.
The guy who looks like Jebediah. Like,
yeah, he's got amazing sideburns. Yeah, go and read his review on Noah.
Okay, I will.
It's one of the funniest things I've ever seen. He even said it's a good job his wife didn't go. That's how offended she would have been by it. You know, he's so pleased. You know, thank God she was kept safe from this film. And it's unintentionally one of the funniest things I've ever read, I think.
All right, I'm gonna look that up.
But okay, I think we can kind of like wrap up now. Hunter, where can we find more of you on the internet?
You can find me at midnightmoviecowboys.com. New podcasts every week.
Weekly now.
Weekly, yes. I'm recording next week's episode tomorrow. But
actually, you guys have been quite busy of late. Actually, I was thinking the other day you've got more than I have, and I need to kind of pick up the pace.
Yeah, Stuart, we were just like, you know, we need to try to pick up the pace and put them out weekly. But, you know, having 3 people, if one person's not available, it doesn't really matter. You know, usually 2 of us are able to record.
Yeah.
Like Stuart's wasn't on the last show because he's having some construction done to his house. He's not going to be on this one or the next one, I think. So it's just going to be me and John for a couple of episodes.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So that's about it.
No, well, thanks very much for coming on the show. You can find more of me on 24framescast.blogspot.com. You can follow me on Twitter at 24framescast. I have been tweeting a lot lately. I don't know why. Recording. I think it's because I'm bored. So there's been a few things there. Mostly it's to do with football. So if you don't like football, probably won't get a great deal out of it. But anyway, Hunter, many thanks for coming on. That will be it for this episode. I will be back with you soon. Many thanks. Bye.